Good morning, Westeros.
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're the fucking Morning Throners.
And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners with Bran 2, the Young Wolf Prince on deck.
Yep.
I don't know if that's his nickname or not.
No, it's Bran.
Bran. I like Bran.
It's the new hot band, Bran and the Reeds.
Featuring Hodor.
Featuring Hodor, yeah.
Kyle, what are your thoughts? Nelson, I want to preface this. Nelson told me this weekend, you're not going to like it. I don't think you two will like it. I thought it was a good chapter.
I think it was more of another, like, we're in a string of kind of these weird chapters, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that aren't, like, we're all walking. Everybody's walking somewhere. And so, like, in that sense, a little annoying.
Yeah.
In the other sense, like, this is kind of one of the more compelling, like, we've been with Bran since day one, right? Like, you know, like, this is one of the more compelling storylines to me, at least, as, like, what's going on with Bran and where's he headed and what's...
Part of the reason I thought that you guys might not like it as much is because, first off, I hadn't actually got to the part of the chapter where we get story time, and I think story time is the best part of the chapter.
Well, obviously.
And you guys have been kind of down on the last two, which was the Arya one, where kind of like Kyle said, it was similar to this one. She's kind of walking somewhere. And then the Dany one, which I thought the Dany one was like pretty cool. But again, you guys were kind of down on both of those.
I thought Jaime was the other one. But anyway, so we're still in a string of like slower chapters, right?
Yeah. But again, I think story time is what picks this chapter.
I think obviously story time. I think the beginning is actually kind of like, what the fuck are we even talking about this shit for? Like,
yeah. So I mean, we didn't give the 10-second summary straight up, but that's pretty much it. Is they walk through the mountains, then story time. They meet a mountain man on the way. So let's get into it. They start off walking. I like this opening quote, so I'm gonna read it. Kind of set the stage. Okay. No roads ran through the twisted mountain valleys where they walked now. Between the gray stone peaks lay still blue lakes, long and deep and narrow. In the green gloom of endless piney woods, the russet and gold of autumn leaves grew less common when they left the Wolf's Wood to climb against the old flint hills, and vanished by the time those hills had turned to mountains. Giant gray-green sentinels loomed above them now, and spruce and fir and soldier pines in endless profusion. The undergrowth was sparse beneath them, the forest floor carpeted in dark green needles. So, I don't know, I feel like they're in like a cool, like I kind of picture this like the haunted forest in Harry Potter, how like there's no like underbrush, right? Yeah. Like when they're in there, you can like see for miles, and all you're seeing is tree trunks.
Old growth forest is
big
like that.
Trees. Yeah, because you have so much canopy up top that light doesn't get down to the bottom for stuff to grow, just all needles. And I kind of just like how last time we saw Bran. Again, we don't know an exact timeline, but this kind of tells us it's been a while because he was like closest to Winterfell. And
can we go over the recap of Bran? Bran 1,
sure.
Maybe?
The last Bran, it ends with him basically like talking like, where are we going to go? What are we going to do? And he like is like crying, I want to fly. I want to go see the three-eyed raven, which he kind of mentions in a one line.
Which
here,
is
like,
where they're headed. Yeah. But like,
exactly.
So the last chapter, were they still with Rickon, or was that a while ago? I'm like so lost.
I think that was like the split up. Like, I need to go north. You need to go elsewhere.
My one-sentence summary says, Bran does some warging, wakes up in Tumbledown Tower, and decides where to go next. He decides to go to the Crow.
Yeah, I think they split up from Tumbledown Tower. I can go back. I just found it, so let me...
So, no, there was one more thing I wanted to say about the chapter as a whole, is that a reason why I don't really like it is that it's a great opportunity to show how stupid I am when you're going to make me guess all these names at the end. And try and piece together the story, but
yeah, and we were kind of talking about that a little bit before we started recording. Jeff and I are gonna have to like figure out game time how to handle that, whether we tell you if you're right or not, or what. There's another quote we were thinking about reading, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a second.
They do split up at the end of Bran 1. They split up, so
up at the end. Don't they split up at the end of the last book?
No,
they're already split up by the start of Bran 1. I'm pretty sure.
No, it literally. He's talking about where they were going then, at least at the end. You're
talking about Osha and Rickon and Shaggy Dog.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure they fucked off because when they were at Winterfell, Lewin was like, split them up. Don't keep Bran and Rickon together. Make sure they're apart. That way, like, if you capture one, you don't get the whole kit and caboodle. And I think they split up from there.
I'm not going to argue about it because I don't remember.
Doesn't super matter, but I got the map up here just so we can kind of look at what where they were last time and like kind of where they are now. Again, we don't have an exact on either of these, but Tumbledown Tower is somewhere like a few days ride from Winterfell in the Wolf's Wood, and now they're like up in the mountains to the point where there's no more autumn leaves. It's all just
Pine trees.
like we said, pine trees and old ass pine trees. So like I'm thinking like pretty like up here past Long Lake at least.
Yeah, I guess they're gone already. I don't see any mention of them in the chapter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you for looking, though.
Yeah, and while I got the map up here, Bran does go through like kind of the situation on what this is kind of like sparsely populated. The north is sparsely populated enough, but he kind of goes on like what we got going on up this far north. And he says House Umber's pretty much east of the King's Road. They have a little bit to the west, but pretty much to the east, which we see here. Last Hearth is the Umbers. Then he says the Wool clan, Wull, Wool. We're west of the mountains and along the Bay of Ice. The Harclay clan behind them in the hills. So I'm guessing like pretty much in between the Wolf's Wood and the dense mountains.
Yeah, these are just a bunch of hill folk, right?
Yep. And then
Keep
the
themselves.
Knot, Little, Nori, and Flint clan out in the high places. And the guy that they meet later, Bran thinks is a Little. So.
And he knows that because of the acorn clasp on his shirt.
Yeah.
So that's their sigil. But
yep, just going over that while we got the map up. So
yeah, I think it was cool. Just kind of like some astrology stuff. When they get lost, they try to find the blue eye of the ice dragon, which is their North Star, I guess.
Yeah. Again, kind of like relates to Arya, how she was like, was it Arya? She was using the sun to navigate for a while. So was Sam up in the north, which makes me think like, why are we using stars? Like, use the sun. Isn't the sun a better way to like direct yourself? It's out all the time.
I mean,
traveling
I guess
by day, not by night.
The question is like if the forest is that thick, can they not see the sun, type of thing?
Maybe. I mean, if the Thor's that thick, you can't
but
see
then you can't see the stars either. Like it doesn't.
Just put the sun on your right side and you wake up and walk straight.
The sun moves though.
Yeah, but at the early hours and late hours, you can pretty much tell where it's at, where you're at.
Yeah, but it moves. So the star, I don't know. A lot of people, that was like a very common thing back in the day.
Yeah, using stars. We got the North Star
by the stars. So what do you? Yeah, we got the North. We put the North Star up there. So the
sun does swing on a plane, right? It's not like it's like
it's not stagnant.
Minecraft where it's directly over your head at just like it's kind of So
the stars do too.
Yeah, but the North Star is the least amount of wiggle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or the blue-eyed dragon.
We might have had this conversation before, actually.
We definitely did. I brought it up from Minecraft because Nelson was like, that's not east. Yeah. I was like, yes, it is. The sun's rising over there. What are you talking about, you idiot?
We talked about the Minecraft sunrise before, for sure. Yeah.
But that also brings up him thinking about OSHA here. So wondering kind of like where they're at. Because OSHA was telling him like to pay attention to, I don't know, maybe she told him about the blue-eyed dragon?
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm thinking of Yu-Gi-Oh! Mentioning the blue-eyed dragon.
OSHA was the one. Yeah, I don't know your demo of the blue-eyed dragon.
It's a blue-eyed something dragon.
I dabbled with little Yu-Gi-Oh.
Blue-eyed silver dragon or something like that.
Yeah,
and then it becomes a 3-headed blue-eyed dragon.
The one-eyed monster.
No.
Okay.
But the point of it is like, all right, where are OSHA, Rickon, and Shaggy Dog? Are they at? He's thinking like, oh, maybe they're safe at White Harbor eating all the seafood, or maybe they're at Last Hearth with the Umbers.
Yep, getting warm by the hearth.
He doesn't know. So,
well, we don't either. So,
and they're not having much fun walking these mountains. Mira's not, at least.
Yeah, she says she hates them, but she also likes them. And Bran gets confused by that. Like, how did you say you love them, but you also hate them?
Yeah, how can you be in the middle, right? Those are two opposite feelings, and he's like. They kind of get into that, right? Like this is still the Earth, and we love the Earth. Is really what it comes down to. It's
one of those like weird, trippy quotes that I feel like has to mean something, but I don't know what it means, right? Bran says like night and day or ice and fire, right? Which immediately catches your eye because Jeff says ice, the whole series, right?
Ice and fire is the name of the book.
And then Jojen says, "If ice can burn," said Jojen in a solemn voice, "then love and hate can mate. Mountain or marsh, it makes no matter. The land is one, but over wrinkled."
It's just a hippie take. Jojen's just a hippie.
Yeah, it's like if ice can burn, can ice burn? What does that even mean?
Well,
I was thinking, can ice burn your skin? Like it's so cold.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, for sure. It can that way.
I mean, maybe he's seen dragons or the story of dragons lighting ice on fire or something. I don't know.
Well, I think what Jeff's saying makes sense. Like if it's so cold, it feels like burning. Like that happens, right? Where your hand, like when you get frostbite, doesn't your hand feel like it's burning?
That's fair. I think it's more fire side, though. I think it's his meaning.
I just think what Jeff's saying makes more sense. It doesn't make sense to me for fire to catch on, or for ice to catch on fire, for ice to burn. But
you can't freeze fire. But maybe there's magic back then that lets both of these things happen.
Yeah. But yeah, it's one of those weird quotes that stuck out to me. But yeah, I don't really know. I have any idea what it means.
Yeah. Well, Bran's idea was to take the King's Road. He was like, "Fuck these mountains! Like, let's just go straight up the road."
Yeah, he keeps bringing it up apparently because Mira finishes a sentence later when he
said it like 500 times or something like that already. Yeah.
But one of them points out like, this is if we were on the King's Road, like we'd get noticed in no time. We're like, you're a cripple on a backpack, like baby backpack of a giant, like a simple giant
it's
with
pretty
a huge
obvious
dire wolf.
Yeah.
Like, you stick out like a sore thumb. Like Jeff always says, there's no photo ID in this world. Bran's like the only guy who's pretty much like a
Tyrion.
walking,
Yeah, that's the whole. That was the whole
Bran
other
and Tyrion.
argument, right?
Yeah. Yeah, those two.
Especially now, if like they'd hear Tyrion doesn't have a nose and like a big ass straight down his face, like, oh, okay,
for sure.
He
talks about the three-eyed crow. I want to go to the three-eyed crow,
which is like good news, right? Because when Jojen was trying to convince him of this for so long, and then finally he has, right?
Yeah, Jojen's got what.
Yeah, now he's like always on board, all 100% on board, rather.
Yeah, but I guess going back to the King's Road, Bran's like we wouldn't be as hungry because he mentions that Mira was a good hunter and fisher, but they're just like in the mountains and there's no game anymore. Even summer. Also,
he's still creeping on her, right? Bran, a little bit.
He's crushing on her, I think.
Yeah.
I feel like she's a little flirty with him too, or maybe it's just like because like she calls him like Prince and stuff like that. But I mean, he is the Prince. But
and she's weird too, right?
She like plays into it. She plays into it with the stories and stuff. I think it's cool though. Interesting. Like you could easily glance over it. One of the big things, like you asked about the last Bran chapter. One of the big things is Bran was warging in summer for a lot of it. And he's just doing what he wants. Like he fights with some wolves and stuff like that. And when he comes back, Jojen's like, you need to learn to like control it. Like you got to slash a tree or bring back some food or something like that. And here Bran says, Summer's bringing back food like a squirrel or a rabbit pretty much every night, which tells me.
You're right. That's a good, yeah.
Like again, it's like a real quick thing. But I feel like if he read those Bran chapters back to back, that would like stick out a lot more.
That Bran's learning. Do you think he's warging her every night though? Like you think he's the one doing it?
I don't think Summer's doing it by himself. A normal dog would eat it. Yeah.
Well, not even that though.
Nah, I don't know.
You might be able to train the dog to bring it back.
I feel like these wolves are pretty smart. That like if Jon Snow, who hasn't warged yet, is like sitting under a tree and he's starving, and Ghost can get out and hunt. You don't think they have that connection that he could bring him back a squirrel?
I don't think he would.
Ghost 100% has brought him stuff.
I don't think Ghost has brought him stuff. Ghost led him to the hidden package of dragonglass.
He's also never been like starving. I'm saying if he was starving, that didn't have. Like he's dying under a tree, and he could a rabbit could save him. You're saying Ghost isn't going to bring him a rabbit? Like
I think that might happen, but like it would have to be. He would live to be on the edge of dying. I don't think like if Jon was hungry, he would walk up with a rabbit.
I think I can stop your whole argument right.
And to your point, hold on. Yeah, just to your point of you can teach your dog to bring you stuff. Yeah, I can teach my dog to bring me a beer, but it would be really freaking hard for me to teach my dog to go to the fridge to get one of his bones out. And bring
you
it
don't
back.
have a connection with Luke. Luke's an idiot. You're an idiot.
I have a crazy connection with him.
All right.
No, you don't.
Stop your arguing because Bran is in that fucking wolf as much as possible. There's no way he's just like letting nights go by where he's not getting warged into this thing.
I just don't know, like, because like we know that he gets a little malnutrition, like because he's not actually eating when he's warging. Like if he's not actually sleeping. Like he's got to sleep at some point, right?
Well, that's my one. That's what I was wondering because like he seems like when he sleeps, he has wolf. Like even before he knew how to work, he was dreaming. He was like in summer when he was dreaming by accident. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like without getting too far down the rabbit hole, because I don't even think like scientists know why we sleep and why we dream. But like to your point, like yeah, if Bran is never actually getting any real sleep because he's always either in Bran's body or Summer's body, like I don't think that's a concern. But like Bran has to make Summer sleep. And then him sleep at the same time.
Right, yeah. I mean, Summer's got to sleep.
That's what Jon does, right? That's what Jon does. Jon always sleeps with Ghost, which is probably a part of the reason why that's not happening. Because Jon sleeps with Ghost a lot.
Yeah. More of the story is, I think they have a deeper connection than Noah. If he was actually hungry, he would bring him some fucking food.
Yeah, we're going way too slow on this non-story time.
All right, well, we can keep going. So the big part of why they're in the mountains is obvious. Jojen doesn't want anyone to see Bran because of what we just said, right? He's ID'd very easily. Nelson mentioned all the names of the families that live there.
Yep.
And then they remember a wool just in the talking of it all, right? There was a wool that.
Well, before that, we actually learned Ned's mom's mom was a Flint.
Yep.
We never learned like anything about Ned's mom's side. We don't really ever learn anything about Ned's dad's side either, except for that's the Stark side. His dad was Rickard
And
Stark.
we've heard some of their names, yeah, but
we've never even heard his mom's name. I looked it up. The only it's on the wiki, and the only reason it's in the wiki is because like the big coffee table book that I have, you guys have definitely seen it. There's just a big Stark family tree in the back. And that's literally the only time his mom's name's ever mentioned. So I'm sure George was just like, I need to make a tree. Let's fill in some, you know what I mean? Let's
make up some names, yeah.
Her name is like Liara, Ned's mom, but this his grandma is Arya Flint. Interesting.
Cool.
So that's who the grandma is Arya Flint. If you look it up on the
family
tree.
So then we get a name of a wool that fought alongside.
Yeah, just real quick before we get to that, Old Nan used to say that the Flint blood in Bran is what made him a climber, right? Because they're the mountain men.
They're in the mountains.
That's why Bran likes to climb. Yep, go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off a few times.
No, it's cool. I mean, there was just a wool. I think his name was Theon.
Theo.
Yep. Theo wool.
Actually mentioned once before in my notes.
Interesting.
Was it by buckets or Theo?
Was he
Theo Wolf.
with Ned?
He was with Ned in a Ned memory.
I know where he was at then. I mean, Kyle probably does too.
He was at the tower with Ned and his men and the King's Guard.
And then it's just like a quick deal. Like Jojen's like, "Hey, do you think the Mountain clans know we're here?" And Bran's like, "Definitely, dude. They definitely know we're here."
Well, so you said, "Is he Buckets?" And that's because, did you say this? Buckets is the sigil.
I did not.
Of the Littles.
I said the name Buckets, but it was.
I think that's a cool nickname. I was wondering like why that's his nickname, but when they said that's a sigil, I was like, that's a less cool reason.
I mean, it would be cool, like if like I don't know, maybe he was
Buckets. Like he's really good at basketball.
Or I was thinking
that was.
I was thinking like he was on the ship and like he was puking all the time, so like he was always puking in a bucket.
That's a good one too. Yeah.
but Bran basically knows that people are watching them because he can see them through summer. So
yeah, exactly. I think that's a really cool point too. When she's like, someone asks like, are we being watched? Bran's like, fuck yeah. I don't know if he tells them, but he thinks,
does.
Like,
I don't think he does. I think he wants to like he wants to make them think like, yeah, I just know that they're out there, or like, yeah, I can see them. I know the signs you don't, but actually I'm cheating because
exactly. As long as we leave their goats alone, we'll be good.
Yeah. So then they walk in the little cave.
It starts raining, and they look for some shelter. Yeah.
Go into a cave, and somebody calls out like, "Hey, come chill by the fire.
Hey, it's okay. Plenty of rock here.
Share my sausage and my oatcakes and my ale."
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
Why does this dude have so much food? He has enough food for 4 people, including Hodor, who has to eat as much as me.
I mean, he had to have been out like on a mission and like took some rations. Or maybe he was like out hunting, but I don't know.
Or maybe he's a nomad. Maybe this is what he does.
Yeah, I mean the mountain clans, like who knows? Yeah,
could be out hunting or something.
Yeah. He asked the guy how close the wall is. He's like, it's
straight line, not that far,
not as far as the raven.
Yeah, raven flies.
That it's funny because like when we talk in the office sometimes, like how far is that? It's like, well, how the crow flies, it's 50 miles, but driving, it's like I don't know if people ever really hear use that term anymore. Like, oh, how the crow flies, but.
I don't know. I knew what that one was. Like it's cool because it does seem like it could be a Game of because George does that. He's pretty cool. He's pretty good at like making like Game of Thrones idioms. Like dark wings, dark words is one we hear later. Like so, like as the crow flies sounds like it could be one of them, but that's just like a actual one in real life too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty close. But he's like, it's actually not easy because we're in the mountains.
Yeah, if you were taking the road,
which was the whole beginning of this chapter was them zigzagging back and forth and like all this craziness.
Yeah.
So they're very aware of how long this is going to take.
And then we get a little bit of history of the King's Road and like how when there was a Stark in Winterfell, a maiden girl could walk the King's Road in her name day gown and still go unmolested. Travelers could find fire, bread, salt, many in and hold fast. But nights are colder now and doors are closed. There are squids in the wolf woods and flayed men riding the King's Road asking after strangers.
The reeds exchanged a look.
Flayed men?
Said Jojen.
The bastard boy, aye. He was dead, but now he's not. Paying good silver for wolf skins, man hears, and maybe good for word for certain other walking dead.
He looked at Bran when he said that, and Summer stretched up beside him.
As to that wall, it's not a place that I'd be going. The old bear took the watch into the haunted woods, and all that came back was his ravens, with hardly a message between them. Dark wings, dark words. Your mother used to say that, but when the birds fly silent, seems to me that's even darker.
He poked at the fire with a stick.
It was different when there was Stark in Winterfell, but the old wolf's dead and young one's gone south to play the Game of Thrones, and all that's left us is the ghosts.
The wolves will come again.
said Jojen solemnly.
And how would you be knowing, boy?
I dreamed it.
Some nights I dream of me and mother that I buried 9 years past.
The man said.
But when I wake, she's not come back to us.
There are dreams and dreams, my lord.
Hodor, said Hodor. All right, that's it. Hodor's just a good period on a conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I guess got two quick notes from that deal. Obviously, with Ned, there's a pure authoritarian that cares about keeping the peace in the North. When he's seated there, don't fuck around type thing.
Everybody knows that. Yeah, if there's a Stark in Winterfell, you better fucking watch out, or there's somebody gonna come chop your head off.
Yeah. And then just the question is how's this guy getting word from the wall?
He knows everything. This guy is completely locked in.
He's got a good thumb on it all.
Yeah.
Squids in the Wolfwood, flayed men on the road, walls going out on arranging.
The bastard boy. What about this? The bastard boy. He was dead, but now he's not. We know this. We've got we've 100% heard this.
Bolton.
Yep, Bolton.
Right. Roose or not Roose. What's his name?
Roose's son, Ramsay Snow.
Yeah,
because he's a bastard.
Ramsay Snow. Okay. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. He's the one who shows up, fucks over Theon at the end of the last Theon chapter.
Reek
was no longer Reek. Exactly. Pretending to be Reek. He gives that whole explanation. I had to go back and make sure we've heard that story already. We have. So yeah, he was fake Reek. Becomes Ramsay.
All right, we heard it already. I don't know why you're going through it.
Just
again.
reminding you. We're making sure you were on it.
I said Reek. I knew.
Gotcha.
It. That was me saying I know this story.
Sheesh.
So they stayed there that night throughout the rain, and he dreamed with Summer. He went into a summer dream. So, and then when they wake up the next day, the guy was gone. So one cool thing, they saw an eagle while they were walking. Bran, this was interesting, right? This was the first time
he's trying somebody else.
Bran's kind of reached out.
Yeah, trying to get into another animal. Yeah, so she shows him I was wondering, is that the point of Mira pointing it out? Hey, look, eagle, because he's napping. Bran's taking a little nap.
I don't know. I feel like that's just kind of a cool thing to see.
Yeah, I mean,
it's hey,
you see a bald eagle flying here. It's damn, look at that eagle.
Yeah, I guess.
Although the other thing though is that we have seen the wildlings and their eagles, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's kind of the hint to us, I guess, and that's why Bran kind of tries to go into it. It isn't a connection we haven't made before.
Yeah, because that's the guy John killed, right? And then I think recently,
there's more of them, and
Yeah.
that 7 dude didn't he have an eagle or something?
Yeah. I don't actually know if he does, but
I don't know if it was
he might not. But anyway,
yeah. So he left him some food.
Yeah.
Right. We were ahead of that.
The stranger left
the little left him some food, and I just think it's cool here. Bran says he likes the idea that also we can skip over this too. Jojen's basically saying, "I have dreams. The Starks are coming back," and we've seen Jojen's dreams. Jojen has some good dreams, so hopeful.
Yeah, but it's also been ambiguous what the dreams mean.
I mean, but here he says the wolves will come again.
I
sure.
dreamed it. Yeah,
but let's just let me just give you a kind of all right, waves will be crashing over the walls of Winterfell. It wasn't an actual wave. It's the coming back of it could be a dead person, you're just coming back to get buried,
or
sure,
Arya's wolf pack. Those wolves coming and showing the actual wolves showing up.
I don't know. Rob sends a letter, and that's the Stark coming back. I don't know. I'm not.
It could be not straightforward. Yeah. I just don't think it's
fair.
Cool. What I think is cool about this, and the reason I jumped back there, is because the food that this guy left, and again, it seems like a pedantic detail, but he says Bran's there was some with pine nuts and there was some with berries, and he didn't know which one he liked better. So Bran was talking about earlier, they're hungry, right? Because Mira hasn't been able to get anything, so he really appreciates this. And Bran's thinking the wolves will come again. Fuck yeah! He's kind of getting mentally hyped. That's awesome. He's like,
when I do take over, or
when we're back in charge,
we are in charge,
I'm gonna pay them back 100-fold. Just kind of okay, good on you, Bran. That's a good Also, it's in the same breath of we just the people respect the Starks. We feel safe when the Starks are around. Then here we have a Stark treating people right. Tywin would be fuck this guy. What an idiot for giving me free oatcakes. I'm gonna crush his kneecaps when I get back in charge.
We'll steal the rest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bran's I'm gonna pay this guy back. I don't know. I just think it's cool that Starks are clearly the honorable ones. But yeah, sorry, going ahead.
All right. And then the last thing before story time is that we learn Hodor's name isn't Hodor.
Walder, which is just not a good name.
Yeah. How many Walders can there be in one realm?
Well, when you got Walder Frey naming all his grandsons after him, you get a lot that way.
Is he a Walder Frey? What's Hodor's last name? Do we know?
We don't. We know his first name's Walder though.
Old man.
Maybe, is he the first Walder Frey in line?
He's not.
He's first. He's number 1. He's next. So. Yeah, he's gonna take over at the Twins. It's gonna be Hodor's time.
We're gonna have to go find him and get him down there. The only thing we know about his relation is old Nan is his. In my notes, I had his great grandma, but Bran here says great great grandma. So I guess it's unsure. But old Nan's one of his.
She was his grandmother's grandmother or something. Like, yeah,
That's an old ass grandma.
She was like 700 years old or something. No big deal.
Yeah, Bran
like,
just taking a shot in the dark. Yeah.
She's got some. She's got the Sorcerer's Stone or something because she's not dying.
Yeah. Well, she's dead, right?
So, but thinking about old Nan, it makes him think back on. I wonder if she's dead, and he's like,
no body.
There was no. Actually, I don't remember seeing any women in Winterfell.
Or maybe they just buried them. I don't know, but if there's no women, I would say that they're probably cooking and getting ready to do whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, they're starting to piece it together here too, because Bran's thinking like he's actually saying he's like Theon wouldn't have killed an old man.
And she's like, or they're like, well, it wasn't necessarily Theon, and some people are bad.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
there was too many.
There was a bunch of squids dead too.
Yeah, there was too many squids dead for it to have been Theon just like killing all the innocents for no reason. Yeah. Some shit happened.
Yeah. All right. Bran wants a story time. Give me a cool story.
Night. I like Night.
I do think it's funny that as throughout Bran is saying like, oh, Hodor likes stories. He likes stories with knights. He doesn't like love stories. Yeah. I mean,
make sure it fights a monster.
And Hodor's just the best yes man because he just says Hodor to everything. It's like
I mean, he changes his tone a little bit.
Most of the time, yeah, you're right. But most of the time here, it does say he says like Hodor. Hodor said agreeing. Like I think he said that like 3 times here. Yeah.
From Bran's point of view, it's just always an agreeing tone.
Exactly. Bran doesn't know what he's trying to say. I mean, you're right. You can tell by the tone, but I think I'm thinking the same thing you are. When you're inside Bran's head, of course.
Yeah. All right. So he's like you said, he wants a story of knights. He likes them, but Mir's like, where I'm from, there's only dead knights.
Dead knights under
everybody
in
trying
the
to take us over.
And Jeff, you haven't seen Lord of the Rings, but this is definitely a Lord of the Rings reference by George here. Kyle, you know what I'm talking about?
Why is there like a floating land?
The dead knights under the bogs.
Yeah.
There's a part of Lord of the Rings that Tolkien brought in because he was in World War One, and I think it was actually like something that he saw a bunch of dead bodies under the surface of the water.
Yeah. So we get into the story of the Night of the Laughing Tree.
Yep, that's the only story that Mira knows. He might have been a Crannogman, is what she says.
Kyle, any just thoughts on the story before we get into it?
Man, I wish I understood it a little better.
Do you have any like guesses of anything that's going on, like overarching?
Well, yeah. I mean, we should go through it. I think.
Yeah, we'll go through it.
Okay.
We'll see what he calls out as we go. I just want to touch on 2 things before we go. One is, I think it's interesting that Jojen's like, Bran, you have to know the story, and then he says that like he has to say it 3 times.
He says it multiple times.
Like, Bran, are you sure you haven't heard the story? Like your dad had to have told the story.
Are you, your dad didn't tell you the story? Like specifically, your dad didn't tell you.
Well, that's what's so weird, right? Like So there's some things that make it sound like it's a while ago. Like, did Ned live through a winter?
Yes.
Okay, so like I wasn't sure, but I mean, it feels like it's this. Okay, well then this feels like Ned, right? Like a lot of this, like involved in it. Like
I will say, Ned is again. Jeff, tell me if you think I'm going too far with spoilers. Ned is one of the characters, and the quote that I was going to read was from a Ned chapter earlier where he's having a memory of this event.
It's almost the tower situation, right? Like he has a dream of being on the field with these dudes and fighting them, and like it feels like it's a similar experience at least.
I think when he's in the dungeons at the very end.
Yeah, and he's hallucinating and
Yeah, exactly. He remembers back to this event. So there's a quote that I could read if you want. You, for some reason, again, we were having this conversation a little bit off air, and Kyle's like, you know what? We should probably just do this on air. So we're kind of picking
I only said 1 sentence in that conversation, to be fair. And it was, I'm going to feel like an idiot for not knowing all these names.
That's
that was
not
the only
true.
thing
You said,
well,
I don't think...
You shouldn't feel like an idiot, for sure. Like,
hold on. That's not true. You said, I don't think you should read the quote. You said that.
When did I say that? I said, don't read the quote until you hear what I think is going on. And if I know enough, then then I, like I said, I thought I knew exactly what you were talking about because it felt like Ned and all that. But like I said, I also was like confused, like the last Dragonite, that's got to be Rhaegar, right? Like, and like, there's a lot of this stuff that really made sense, but I wasn't sure because it was like, did Ned live through a winter? And I didn't know how long.
Yeah. All right, let's jump into it. So there's a boy in the neck.
Well, hang on, Jeff. Now I think it's a good time for me and you to say, what are we going to tell him? If he's guessing right, do we tell him? I think we should. I think, again, none of this is confirmed.
It's not even guessing. It's just kind of putting it together, right?
Yeah, if he puts a puzzle piece together. If he says, like, oh, the Dragon Prince, and he's like, is that Rhaegar? I'm like, Yeah, okay, that's right.
I mean, obviously, we've been literally talking about this dude being the Dragon Prince for how long?
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So if he goes like, oh, the Quiet Wolf is X Stark, like, okay, like, like
there's some that you're not going to know for sure, but let's go ahead. So let's get into it.
So there's a boy in the neck with magical powers.
You're going to hate me,
dude. Start the
unrelated, but real quick thing. I think just a little meta thing. George says, you got to feel this. You had to feel something when you read this, Jeff. When Bran, they're like, you might have heard this before. Bran's like, it's okay. Old Nan says old stories are like old friends. You have to visit them from time to time. That's what we're doing. That's what Jeff and I are doing with Game of Thrones.
It's a great
little meta quote.
Any good story is worth revisiting. If it's not, if you can't read
losers.
If you can't read it again, it's not a good enough story.
George has said he's also written these to be reread, so that there's like stuff you find when you reread them, which is super obvious. I think if you listen,
I think it's a great point,
but. Could you read it again and make a podcast that goes over multiple years?
Maybe. Probably a little overboard. But I could just tell you from doing this and me rereading this chapter, like, I'm obviously going to be a lot better just having a conversation with Nelson later on about what's going on here than the first time. The first time I read this, I was like, well, whatever. Like, who's the Quiet Wolf? And like, come on, like, Jeff, like, open your fucking eyes.
And to your point, like we've said this before too, most people when they're reading, they don't sit and think about it. They just flip to the next chapter and keep going. Exactly. So, all
right. Can I start?
Go ahead. Sorry.
There's a boy in the neck with magical powers. He learns a little bit of it, but he wants more. So he goes to the he leaves for the Isle of the Faces, which is like off territory. Don't go there because there's, what do they call them?
Green men.
People?
Green men.
Yeah.
Green man. He goes there. He stays there for a whole winter, which is kind of crazy, Nelson. Like,
yeah,
winters could be years, right? This isn't like a 3-month deal and it's over.
So I think there was a winter pretty recent before Bran was born, and I think it was 2 years long.
Okay. Well, the other thing here, right? Like, so
this is way before.
That was
this is like at least 20 years before that, so it's a different winter. But I'm thinking, like a short winter is like to agree with you, Jeff. I think it's like 2 years. So he's there for at least a year. I'm thinking. Go ahead, Kyle. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, so like part of the reason I didn't think that Ned might have lived through a winter, like, is just because the winter that we're about to see here is going to be a little interesting because of what's going north of the wall. This isn't a regular occurrence, I guess, is what I need to remember. It feels like that's like winter. That's part of winter to me. Is the fucking these strange monsters come out of the north. That's winter.
That's a good point.
That's not true.
That's a good point. That as a first-time reader, because we've never seen winter, it's easy to assume that like others in the winter are the same thing. Especially because like winter is coming as a Stark quote kind of feels like a hey, be aware, be ready for like the others type thing.
But it's also kind of like a hey, winter's coming, like save your food.
Yeah, like even when you have 2-year winter, that's not easy, and a lot of people die just because it's harsh conditions. The other thing is has I know this isn't what you were asking, but has Ned lived through a winter? I don't know if he's actually lived through a northern winter, at least a harsh one, because he lived in the Erie for most of his life. So like,
oh yeah, with John
in the Ned quote that we're considering reading for this one, he says he came down from the Erie to go to this tournament. So like, which is just kind of interesting to think about. Like, he wasn't in Winterfell if there was we know there was a winter going on, right? Because the Crannogmen came from the Isle of Faces at the end of a winter.
So if Hallen is Mira and Jojen's dad, then I had already kind of thought
that's who Hallen is.
Okay.
Yeah. Because he came.
That was when we got to that. That was gonna be my prediction.
So because this tournament is at the end of a winter, because he leaves, like we said, where Jeff was in the story, he goes to the Isle of Faces and he spends the whole winter there. And right when spring comes, that's when he leaves.
Yep.
So, but Ned was in the Erie for that winter. Yeah, at least that one.
Yeah. Which probably isn't great either. I mean, you're up in the mountains, and
that's true.
Gotta be bone-chilling cold that high.
Yeah, that's true.
So he crosses in his little boat, and he comes up on a huge castle, which Bran, excitedly guesses is Harrenhal.
Yeah.
And it's a big-ass tournament.
I do like how they're like, yeah, fuck the phrase, right? Like, the whole time, too.
Yeah, like he snuck under the phrase place.
Yeah. And like, he was like, that's who one of them would attacked him, and Bran immediately is like, they were definitely Walters, because that seems like shit those assholes would pull.
So did Jeff say that? That's when you say one of them attacked him?
No, but no. So like, yeah, exactly. They come to Harrenhal, and like, Mira's kind of I don't know why she was playing dumb. Like, is that her playing the flirty thing that we were talking about?
I think it's just into the story. Like, you don't want to give too much, I would say.
Well, part of it is
it's storytelling, fair.
And this is a little bit meta of me, but George says like writing the Bran chapters is like really hard because it's hard to write from like a child's perspective. And it's weird because like you think like as we're putting the pieces together, like who's this, Bran realizes that this is kind of like a real story and not made up. But then like when the story's done, Bran's like giving all these revisions, and it makes you think that Bran doesn't think.
I don't think Bran realizes that.
Bran doesn't realize this was an actual story with real people. It's kind of where like I think what the last.
I don't think he puts two and two together.
Exactly.
For sure.
Yeah.
He didn't think into it.
So I think that's kind of why she's doing this, so that he doesn't realize what it's a real story.
Why though?
Yeah, I guess why not tell him? But I guess like I guess to George's point, like if your dad didn't tell you, we don't have the right to tell you, so we'll just like make it really.
I think it's
dead. You got to tell these stories of his dad.
Like
he's
not going to figure it out.
I think it's
anymore.
a little bit cool, like if she did, like at the end, like, hey, like your dad was X. Like it would be like, what? Like, but I like that. Like before the end, it's kind of like the Quiet Wolf. Like she's not giving away who each one is, so it's kind of
I think it makes it interesting for a reader too. Just like outside, like from the meta perspective, it's like an interesting like puzzle to think about.
So when you say meta, what do you mean by that? The meta perspective,
like outside like when Kyle makes a prediction and says like, "Well, I know." Like what you made him from it.
I know it's a book.
I know it's a book. Like recently, he said like I think Jaime and Brienne are going to stay together because they're kind of like have an interesting dynamic, and I don't think it would make sense for them to split up right now. So he's like, I think they're gonna.
And that's meta.
Kind of like
meta. Like he's not making
outside
that prediction based on like anything that's happened in the book. It's just because I know this is a book and I think this would be interesting, right? Like you wouldn't make that prediction in real life. That like
I've just heard that term. I've heard that term thrown around a bunch, and I'm just like, what do you mean?
It can mean other
meta?
stuff too, like the meta in a game can be like the
metaverse
team composition to use. No, it's like the team to use at the time is like these players match the best.
The meta
build. Yeah, like the class to make. Yeah,
it's just a word that's being thrown around too much. It's almost like everybody's being gaslit nowadays.
Well, that's so in terms of games, it's like you know that who has the best stats or what has the best stats. This is the best build to get the best amount of range.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
that's why it's just like so now
it's
like Nelson said meta twice in this chapter, and I think it's meant two different things.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, but okay, I'll try to use better words then.
No, I'm just curious because I would never use meta in my vocabulary, and it seems like you're pretty.
I'm a nerd. Yeah. I think that's a nerd word. Yeah, definitely a nerd word. Game of Thrones.
All right, so at this tournament, we learned that it's a huge tournament, and the king and the dragon prince were there.
Absolutely massive tournament. Like they kind of
everybody's coming out a winner.
Just later, like Mira starts to get into it, and Bran's like, "I don't care. Like, shut up. Go to the jousting." I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but like a tournament of singers, horse races, 5 days of jousting, a 7-sided melee. What the fuck is a 7-sided melee? That sounds badass, but like, what the fuck?
It sounds like a 1v1 or team v team v team v team v team v team v team.
That's badass. Yes, like chivalry. Give me the 7-sided melee.
We haven't played that in a while. Where you at, man?
When they bring me the 7-sided melee, each one of the 7 being a kingdom from Game of Thrones, I'll be back. I'll be back, baby. Sure. All right, sorry.
There is one.
We skipped some stuff too.
Yeah, no, I jumped ahead. Go ahead, Jeff.
Okay. There's one lord that's not in attendance here.
Yes.
There's a lot that is, and there's one that
Tywin.
Well, so hold on. Yeah, let's start going over these. So the king is there, and so was his son, the dragon prince.
So it's like Aegon, right? And what's his name? Rhaegar.
Aerys and Rhaegar.
Aerys. Okay, yeah, sorry.
The Mad King. Yep.
Yeah. That's what I meant.
All 6 white swords to welcome a new member. So we know there's 7 Kingsguard.
Yeah.
All right.
Is this Jaime's tournament? Is Jaime the new member?
Jaime is the new member, but it's not his tournament. This is a tournament in honor of like the daughter of the Lord of Harrenhal, right? She's the queen of love and beauty.
Yeah.
But to what Jeff was saying, both the Storm Lord and the Rose Lord were there, but the Great Lion of the Rock was quarreling with the king and decided to stay away.
Tywin, yeah.
Yeah, so that's okay. So who's the Storm Lord? Who's the Rose Lord?
Well, that's Baratheon, right? Storm's End.
Yep. So,
is that Stannis that's out there, or is that Robert?
Well, let's put them both. Let's put them both down, and we'll see if we can figure it out as we keep going.
At that time, yeah,
you're on a good track. Rose Lord,
and then that's got to be what's her name? Florence?
No.
Who's
the family that's like always got roses and shit?
Yeah, what's his name?
You're just
from the south. What's his
Loras?
Loras, yeah, Loras. What's his last name?
Tyrell.
Tyrell? Okay, yeah.
The Florence are Stannis' wife's family, who are sworn to the Tyrells. But
the Florence and Tyrells, I feel like they're always together. Okay.
They're supposed to be together, but the Florence sided with Stannis instead of with the Tyrells, which is why, again, just to touch on it real quick, in the most recent Tyrion chapter, when they're divvying shit out, the Tyrells are like, I want the Florent lands, because they fucked us and they didn't join with us when all of our other bannermen did. They went to Stannis instead of us. So you're right that they're like together, kind of like Winterfell and like any of their bannermen, but it's like if they would have joined the Lannisters instead of Winterfell in the war or something. But yep. So all 6 white swords again. We get
I
the
don't
gist
know their
there.
names. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Who cares? So yeah, we find out then Nelson mentioned it. They're kind of here because the girl of Harrenhal is named the Queen of Love and Beauty, and her 5 champions, which it's kind of like a Dunk and Egg callback, I guess.
It's got to be the same style tournament, yeah.
Same style tournament. That her 4 brothers and the uncle are the champions to defend her. Which
there are some weird things though about like if you have a 5-man like champion tournament, how is there a winner at the end? I guess unless the other thing that's weird is at one point somebody comes up and challenges 3 people at once.
Yeah, that was a little confusing to me. Is what the Laughing Tree guy does.
And then the next day there was only 3 champions.
I would say like if you wanted to be a winner, like the last champion,
they have to start challenging each other.
Or I was just gonna say like the last challenger that becomes champion, you could say he's like the final winner, or like each of the 5 maybe. But I don't. Yeah, I mean I truly don't know. But
we can talk about it a little more when we get there.
So they're like, oh, Bran asked about this girl who was the Queen of Love and Beauty, and asked, is she the most?
Was she a fair maid?
Is she a fair maid, or was she the most fair? Or maybe she says like, yeah, she was fair, but there were more fair.
Exactly.
There.
And one such was the wife of the Dragon Prince, who had brought a dozen lady companions, and all the knights were basically like her and her posse were the highlight of the tournament. Everyone was going after this crew. This little clique.
Yeah, so Bran's like, come on, like, is this a love story? Hodor doesn't like that.
Hodor agrees.
We want to hear knights fighting monsters.
Yeah, exactly. I think cool little thing here. Sometimes the knights are the monsters, is what Mira says back.
Is that wisdom, or does that go off the story?
I think that just makes me think of the Hound in the Mountain.
Yeah. Or even like, or Jaime.
Or Jaime, yeah, just like the non-true knights, the people that Sansa always thought about.
Yeah. So we get back into the story, and the Crannogmen, he is kind of just walking around, and 3 squires decide that not today, young sir, you're getting picked on.
You frogman. I mean, we know that people hate these dudes for no reason, right? Like,
well, to your point, this is what Bran says. Is he's like, were they Walder because he sounds like Little Walder? Just because this is the exact same shit that Little Walder's been doing to Jojen and Mira, like just picking on him, calling them frog eaters and shit like that.
Well, and he was being a prick to Bran too. They're being a prick to everybody. They're fucking just pricks, man. Yeah,
which is interesting because Bran asks, "Is he a Walder?" We don't know if he's a Walder or not. Well, later
one of them becomes a Frey.
Exactly.
And you know the saying. I've told you guys before. If you plant corn, you get corn.
Yeah, they've been planting the same kind of corn the whole time through the Frey line.
And a she-wolf comes up and beats the shit out of these 3 squires.
Yep, with a tourney sword till they run away.
Kyle, thoughts?
That's my father's man you're kicking. So is that Ned's mom?
Could be Ned's mom.
Okay.
And then she-wolf takes the cut-up Crannogmen back, and they meet her 3 brothers. There's a wild wolf, a quiet wolf, and a pup wolf.
Yep.
Which is... Oh, wait. That's... No. Now I'm lost. So these are...
It's the she-wolf's brothers, so if you want to...
So if that's Ned's mom, that would be his parent, his dad,
uncles.
And... Uncles?
Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know his uncles well enough to know who's who. Like, I don't even know who his brothers were. I don't remember. Brandon, right?
Brandon's his brother.
Brandon's his brother. Yeah, that's where I get lost. Okay, anyway, go ahead. Yeah?
We never heard of his mom outside the family tree. I said that earlier, right?
Yeah.
His uncles also no mentions.
So these people, the wild wolf, the quiet wolf, like, we don't know these people?
Potentially.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
If all my assumptions are what we're thinking here, then that's what I'm saying.
Yep. Okay. Let's keep going.
All right, so the she-wolf takes the Crannogmen to the feast with them, and he's highborn too, so he's like, I can sit here.
Yep, they get him some clothes.
I'm not out of place.
And they sit with a bunch of their men too: moose, bear, and merman. I like how they don't even tell the houses here. You're going by sigil. We know all these sigils. There's actually another sigil too. There's
the one's got to be like the Karstarks, right?
No, Karstarks are the sons.
The bears, Umbers.
Bears are Mormont.
Bears are Mormont.
Okay.
Moose is Hornwood.
I don't know who are the mooses.
Hornwood.
I feel like we did hear those now that you said that. Well, I know. I mean, the Mormonts are obviously the bears, but anyway.
And mermen are Manderleys.
White Harbor.
And they say the Barrow men, which are men from House Dustin. So we got Dustin, Manderley, Mormont, and Hornwood are here.
Yeah. So he mentions some things that go on throughout the feast. The Dragon Prince played a song.
Yep.
And it got the she-wolf a little in her feelings. It was allergy season in the feast.
Yep.
There was a purple-eyed girl that danced with a bunch of people. Nelson, do you have the list of people? I'm sorry. If you
well, there's a black brother that comes too. The Storm Lord was in a drinking contest against a Knight of Skulls and Kisses. Kyle, any idea on that? Knight of Skulls and Kisses?
Knight of Skulls and Kisses. Oh, man. No, I have no idea.
That's okay.
No, so I actually don't know who the Skull and Kiss is. That sigil related or is that?
I think what's going to happen is you're going to talk about that later in the spoiler section, and I didn't hear a word because I was talking over it because I knew he was about to say stuff that he shouldn't have said. You get to have these questions later. That's your time to have these questions.
when I texted you guys, like I know 98% of the people, like that's probably the 2% right there.
Gotcha. So Jeff, I have a maid with laughing purple eyes. It says something else about her though, right?
Dance with the White Sword, a Red Snake, and a Lord of Griffins.
Okay.
And lastly, the Quiet Wolf.
Okay, I did have that. It doesn't say anything else about the maid though, like in particular. No. Okay. So
well, like the purple eyes, don't we know? Like, isn't that the Targaryens?
It's a Targaryen. Right? It is a Targaryen thing.
I don't know who the lights like. Would that be like maybe Jaime and like the Red Snake? I don't know who that would be.
Okay, Lord of Griffins.
I don't know.
She's dancing the night away, right?
I have no idea who these people are, man.
Then the shy, I guess. Well, then the lastly is the shy, quiet wolf, but his brother had to ask for him. The wild wolf had to ask.
The wild wolf had to get him.
But these are Ned's uncles or dad potentially.
That's what we're thinking.
Potentially.
Okay. Well, I mean, because one of them would be his mom's. Oh no, I guess they're all brothers. His mom's. I don't know. Like I said, I'm so lost.
Okay. Keep going.
While he's also there. He sees the three squires that.
Yeah.
And we get to find out which houses they're actually with here. So there's a pitchfork, a porcupine, and a knight with two towers.
Yes.
So. I mean, I got the phrase. I don't remember those other sigils.
One of them I didn't know. One is House High. That's the pitchfork knight. I think we've only heard of one other High, and I'm not even sure right off the top of my head without looking up his note where we heard him. And the other one is House Blunt. Porcupine is House Blunt. So again, I don't think it really matters, but like. Boris Blunt is one of the Kingsguard right now. Mm-hmm. Not a particularly, I think, like good one. He might have been the one that got kicked out of the Kingsguard because he didn't defend Tommen when they were getting him out of the city. Yeah.
All right. And the Crowning Man's a little bit pissed, and he's like, "How can I want vengeance, but I can't find the tourney. I'm too little. Like I just embarrass my house if I would fight."
Yeah, the chief points him out to the brothers, and the pup is like, "Yo, we can get you some armor." He's like,
"Yeah, we'll gear you up. Let's go. Let's fuck these kids up."
And that's what you're saying. Like, he's like, "I just can't. I'm not a knight. I'm a Kranich man. That's not what we do. We do magic.
I'm a magic guy.
Breathe mud. Yeah, run on leaves, that kind of thing."
And you never heard this. You never heard this tale from your dad.
Yeah, Jojen Hopp said, "You sure you never heard this?"
Sorry, he says a prayer to the gods of the north and the neck.
Yeah, the Quiet Wolf says you can sleep in my tent. And then he goes and prays to the Isle of Face, like looks out to where the Isle of Faces is. Also, this tells you how huge this lake is. If you can't see the island from the shore, it tells you it's got to be. I'm sure you can just Google how big that is.
It's like I don't know, like Lake Michigan-ish.
I'm sure it depends on the size of the.
Isn't Lake Michigan like that? You can't see.
Well, it would depend on the size of the circumference of the Earth, of this planet to see how far the horizon
is it flatland or is it a sphere?
It becomes more flat the bigger the sphere is why horizon distance matters. But
no, I know.
All right, moving on.
All right, so Bran's like, all right, come on, like, tell me about, like,
Dad didn't tell me shit. Old Nam was the one that told me stuff. Just go.
Keep going.
Tell me the story.
Hodor. So Hodor's hyped about this. He's here. I think he is agreed. He's hyped about this story. He wants to keep going.
After the first day of jousting, the brothers were all knocked out.
Yep.
And the three knights of the squires end up becoming champions.
Yep. Again, it doesn't really matter. But by noon on the second day, the three knights of the dickhead squires were all champions. Exactly. Yes. And by evening on the second day, Bang. Mystery Knight. Have we heard of any Mystery Knights yet, Kyle? Like, is this the first, like, Bran here when he thinks, like, oh, a Mystery Knight is this? Did you need that explanation? Or did you know what a Mystery Knight was?
I mean, I don't remember if we've seen one.
I don't think we have.
That's not true.
I don't think this is a spoiler, but the third Dunk and Egg story is titled A Mystery Knight. The first one's a hedge knight.
I thought the first one was.
The first one is a hedge knight. The second one is a sworn sword, and the third one is a mystery knight. So that's why I was wondering, because there's like a kind of a whole short story focused
Wasn't
around a
Dunk kind of like a mystery knight the first time? Like he showed up with like a
kind of.
He was just a
sigil.
no-name knight, yeah. I mean, but he gave his name and stuff. He was Duncan the Tall, right? They asked him his name, and he was like Dunk.
I think the mystery knight is a cool ass concept.
It's a sick
kind of
concept.
like WWE. Like I mean, it's probably one WWE is fake, but like if you were like a kid that really loved it, and like it's a championship bout, and like here comes dude like in a unknown mask and song and whatnot, and you're like, oh my god, who is this dude? Like it would be I'm just thinking back to like my days of watching Stone Cold and The Rock, and like if Triple H came out in like mystery night fashion, that would be dope as shit.
So Bran's the way he describes it is mystery knights would often appear at tourneys with helms concealing their faces and shields that were either blank or bore some strange device. Sometimes they were famous champions in disguise. The Dragon Knight once won a tourney as the Knight of Tears, so he could name his sister the Queen of Love and Beauty in place of the King's mistress. And Barristan the Bold twice donned a Mystery Knight's armor, the first time when he was only 10. So I think it's interesting that Barristan the Bold, I mean, we know this guy.
Barristan Selmy, right?
Yeah, he's probably here at this tourney too, because he was definitely one of the Kingsguard. He was like the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard for Ares. So, and they said all 6 of the Kingsguard were here, so he's definitely one of the people here.
Is he the one that left? Right?
He got kicked out.
Yeah, and then now we haven't seen him in forever.
Yeah, we were looking for him for a while. Renly was asking
Yeah.
Kat about him. Yeah, exactly.
So we get a little bit of a description of the mystery knight.
No one knew, but the Mystery Knight was short of stature and clad in ill-fitting armor made up of bits and pieces. The device upon his shield was a heart tree of the old gods, a white weirwood with a laughing red face.
Yep.
Pretty
Pretty cool.
It's kind of like the Joker.
It's kind of like the Joker.
But he's like, Green Man. Green Man.
Well, before that, he was like, oh, it's definitely the Kranich Man. And then after she says that, he's like, oh, it's definitely Green Man. Yep, definitely Green Man. Isle of Faces definitely showed up big. And then I think it's cool here. He says, in Old Nan's stories, the Guardians had dark green skin and leaves instead of hair. Sometimes they had antlers too. But Bran didn't see how the Mystery Knight could have worn a helm if he had antlers. I bet the old god sent him. So again, I feel like Bran he's like a great person to tell stories too. He's like super locked in, making guesses the whole time.
Yeah, he has no idea. It's right there in front of him, right?
I think we skipped it. At one point, Mira's like, the story would go fast. Like he asked a question. He's like, well, you'd find out if you would stop asking questions.
This reminds me, it's how my dad watches movies. Like he just tries to like guess it along. I'm like, shut up, just watch the damn movie.
So I think so Ned would have been pretty young during this, right? Would he have been small in stature or no? Like I have a hard time with the age, like the era.
Who's who?
Ned's around the same age as Rhaegar. I'll say that. And Jaime, right? This is when Jaime's getting inducted. He's around the same age as
Jaime's 16 and Ned's older than Jaime, right?
Slightly, maybe slightly. Not much, if at all.
Yeah, so that was, I guess, kind of my question then. Is how old is Ned versus Jaime? Yeah.
Very close, I would say.
So they were similar? Okay.
Within 5 years, I would say.
So
the Mystery Knight shows up, and
I thought the Mystery Knight would be Ned, but it doesn't seem like it would be because he'd probably be bigger than the short guy.
Let me read. I'm going to read the other. I'm going to read the quote from the Ned chapter. His age is in it. His age is in that quote.
Let's hear it.
Hold on, Nels. Can we just talk to? I'm just thinking, Nels. Like if Kyle finds out like Ned is of similar age, and we know Jaime is about to get knighted and whatnot, doesn't that kind of change a little bit of the thought process here?
Let me read the quote. I know what you're saying. Let me read the quote.
It doesn't to me, so I don't know what you're saying.
Okay, read it, Nels.
So this is when he's locked in the black. What is it called? The black cells. The memory came creeping upon him in a darkness, as vivid as a dream. It was the year of the false spring, and he was 18 again, down from the Eyrie to the tourney at Harrenhal. He could see the deep green of the grass and smell the pollen on the wind, warm days and cool nights and the sweet taste of wine. He remembered Brandon's laughter and Robert's berserk valor in the melee, the way he laughed as he unhorsed men left and right. He remembered Jaime Lannister, a golden youth in scaled white armor, kneeling on the grass in front of the king's pavilion and making his vows to protect and defend King Aerys. Afterwards, Sir Oswell Went helped Jaime to his feet, and the White Bull himself, the Lord Commander Gerald Hightower, fastened the snowy cloak of the Kingsguard about his shoulders. All 6 white swords were there to welcome their newest brother. Yet when the jousting began, the day belonged to Rhaegar Targaryen. The crown prince wore the armor he would die in, a gleaming black plate with the 3-headed dragon of his house wrought in rubies on his breast. A plume of scarlet silk streamed behind him when he rode, and it seemed no lance could touch him. Brandon fell to him, and Bronzion Royce, and even the splendid Sir Arthur Dane, the Sword of the Morning. Robert had been jesting with Jon and Old Lord Hunter as the prince circled the field after unhorsing Sir Barristan in the final tilt to claim the champion's crown. Ned remembered the moment when all smiles died, when Prince Rhaegar Targaryen urged his horse past his own wife, the Dornish prince Elia Martell, to lay the Queen of Beauty's laurels in Lyanna's lap. He could see it still, a crown of winter roses, blue as frost. Ned reached out his hand and grasped a flowery crown, but beneath the pale blue petals, the thorns lay hidden. He felt them clawing his skin, sharp and cruel, saw the slow trickle of blood run down his fingers, and woke trembling in the dark.
I'm still so fucking lost. Don't worry.
So, I think what Jeff's saying is you should be rethinking something when you know...
Like, just who won what? Like, the
you
fight?
should be rethinking some of your guesses based on ages, I think is what Jeff was saying. Correct. And I'll say here, if you really think about it, we piece one of them together. We hear at the very end of the story who won and who was crowned, right? The she-wolf was crowned. Earlier you had said the she-wolf was Ned's mom.
Okay, but it's his sister?
Yes.
And yeah, that was kind of where I was at too, because that's why I was so confused by like the people that we would know and whatnot earlier.
Exactly. So it's one of those things where, again, I bet you most
people...
like
what you said, like I was kind of thinking that, but then what you said made me think the other way, because like you like agreed with the first thought of it being his mom, and like I was really, that lost me even more. So, okay.
Okay, maybe Jeff was right. Maybe we should have decided if we should have given this to you or not. But like,
I don't think it's a bad
It's one of those things where like, it's in the book, but I think most readers probably on a first time through again, because they're not thinking of it, really don't piece all this together. Again, I don't think you have all the info to piece everything together, but yeah, I think now you can rethink some of those names.
Well, yeah, like the Quiet Wolf is probably him, right?
Who him?
The Wild, yeah. When the Wild Wolf maybe be Benjen or whatever, right? Like if we're talking about it being his brothers.
So we heard in the Ned quote, Brandon was there. He was laughing. Robert was there. He was laughing and beating people in the melee. So you're probably right on your Robert guess.
When did I say Robert? I didn't say Robert.
Not just now, but you said it earlier for the Stormlord.
Okay, yeah.
Here we have the Wild Wolf and the Quiet Wolf and the pup, and then the She-Wolf. We're saying the She-Wolf is Ned's sister. You got 3 brothers. Ned had 2.
Well, the Wild
Ned
Wolf,
had 2
I'm
brothers.
assuming, like I said, wasn't Benjen one of them, right? Benjen and Brandon?
Benjen and Brandon, exactly. And Ned. They're the 3 brothers.
Yeah.
Do
you know the ages of them?
You should be able to at least place Ned and Brandon.
The old one. Well, the youngest one. Who was the youngest? I don't know the ages of them. No, I don't know.
You don't know between Ned and Brandon?
Well, was Brandon older than him and Brandon died, right?
Yeah, because Brandon was supposed to marry Kat.
Yeah.
Right, and then Ned married in his place. Yeah.
So then there's a pup.
Would that be okay, well, how do I know that? Like, how would I place that, I guess?
Benjen's the youngest one.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if it's ever said anywhere, but yeah, we'll give that to you.
I mean, it's kind of known that Benjen becomes the second son, so like, what was there for him?
Yeah, I agree.
True, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, I guess Ned that would put somebody behind him.
Yeah, we've heard that Ned inherited Brandon's responsibilities.
I follow now.
Now that we've ironed that out, let's just to go back to the dancing. I just think it's interesting. Again, we don't really know much more about any of the other people, but we know that Ned was too shy to dance with somebody. I can't tell here if this is Ned wanted to dance with this girl and was too shy to ask, so he had his like brother go ask for me.
Older brother was like, go dance with
or older brother was like picking on him, right? Like me, if I went to a bar, I would never want to or ask a girl to dance. So I could see somebody like one of my friends being like, "Oh, my buddy wants to go dance." You know what I mean? Like as like a fuck.
No, that's not. I could easily see like.
I could see Brandon doing that to Ned.
It's like being a wingman. I think I could see it being Brandon being a wingman for Ned and be like, hey, like out.
100%. I could see it go either way. Is what I'm saying. I could see him fucking with Ned too.
I guess we don't really know the relationship.
That's what I'm saying. Is I
when he's the Wild Wolf, that's all we really know. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
All right.
Yeah. Back to the Mystery Knight.
So the Mystery Knight ends up jousting and beating the 3 knights, which is kind of weird. Like usually, if we just go back to what I think of the way Duncan Egg goes, is like you pick one of the 5, right?
Exactly.
And then if you win it, you become a champion. But he decides, I'm just going to beat all 3 of you.
Yeah, and then later they say the next morning when the herald blew the horn, only 2 of the champions showed up, which implies that only 3 were expected to show up. Meaning when he challenged all 3, he took the spot of he changed the whole tournament from 5. Yeah. Like he could have made this thing drawn out 2 extra days. You know what I mean? You're getting half as many jousts in, you know what I mean, at a time if you're only going. I think they only go one at a time.
So you're saying at that point, the last two champions then joust each other for like champions?
We don't know, but they say that like the Dragon Prince is the winner. Like, okay, well, how is there a winner if there's like a group of 5 winners?
Well, no, and it said he unseated somebody to be the winner in your other quote.
Barristan, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like he obviously fought the last dude. What are you talking about?
Well, to that though, that was a quote from Game of Thrones before George probably actually had any of the particulars of this tournament ironed out. But again, that's meta.
All right,
Jeff,
so let's get back.
That's meta. Me thinking like that.
Meta.
Like George didn't have that figured out back then. That's meta.
Yeah,
That's outside the story, right? That's an assumption I'm having outside the text, just because I know how books work.
Sure. All right, Kyle. If you remember in these jousts, if you lose, you give up all your stuff.
Yeah.
So they're getting ready to like ransom it to the kid or the mystery knight, and it's like, all right, I don't want your stuff, teacher squires.
In a booming voice, teacher squires honor, that shall be ransom enough. And then it actually says that once they chastise their squires, that's when they got their ship back. And so the little Crannogman's prayer was answered by the green men or the old gods or the children of the forest. Who can say?
Do you think publicly they brought out those squires and were like spanked them basically in front of the public?
Assume the position. What's that from? I think that's from old poets, Dead Poet Society. Assume the position when he spanks the one guy.
Yeah, I'd have to watch it. It's been a while since I've seen
I love that movie.
That or Good Will Hunting.
Oh, that's a toss up for like old.
Is
like,
it really?
It's like a toss up for like best 90s movie.
That's shocking.
I mean, I guess Lilo and Stitch is a 90s movie, and so is I Robot.
Lilo and Stitch is awful.
Lilo and Stitch and I Robot are probably top 2 movies of all time.
You're crazy.
Kyle, are you going to say something? You had that look on your face again that you had like found something in the book. No, you're just thinking I'm an idiot. You're looking at me like I'm an idiot. Okay.
All right. So people want to unmask this mystery night now. So people are getting kind of fired up that night, and the king decides like, I don't like that guy.
Well, he was pissed that he left. Is what happened, right?
He didn't leave yet. I don't think the king urged men to challenge him, declaring that the face behind that helm was no friend of his.
I agree.
So
you're right.
I thought the same thing the first time I read this too, Kyle. But this read, I think the same thing Jeff's saying, that like that night there's another feast, probably not as big, but like they're all in a room and they're like, like Robert's like, tomorrow I'm gonna figure out who that guy is, and then the night of Skulls and Kisses is like, I'm gonna figure out who that guy is. I'm gonna beat him and figure out who that guy is. And the king's like, one of you guys better figure out who that guy is. I don't like that guy. That's kind of how I take what's happening here. It's like, but like, that guy might be one of the people in this room for all we know. You know what I mean? Like, exactly. Yeah. That's how I take it. But I don't think he's run off yet. I don't think they know he's run off till the next day. Like I said, and he's just not there, missing.
That was an assumed position.
Yeah. 2 champions showed. He had dipped, and the king was like, he's pissed. He sent the Dragon Prince to hunt him down, but all they found was the painted shield
hanging in a tree.
Yep. And he won the tourney in the end. So I think, at this point, like Mira's kind of done with the story, and Bran's like kind of at like where we're at, he's like poking for more, right? Basically the story ends when she says that his prayer was answered by the green men or the old gods or children of the forest. And Bran's like, he's like, there's like some stuff in there where he's like, it was a good story. Yeah.
He's being meta now.
He is being meta. Exactly.
I hate you.
So she finishes what we just said. And Bran's like, it's a good story, but it should have been the 3 knights who were the bullies, who like beat up the Crannogman. That way he could have killed him instead of just like beating him.
Yeah, he would have been free to kill him. Yeah.
He's like, and the part about the ransoms was stupid. The mystery knight should have won the tourney, defeating everybody, and then he should have named the wolf maid the queen of love and beauty. And Mira's like, Mira says she was, but that's a sadder story. And Jojen again asked Bran if he's ever heard this before. Bran's like, no. And then last little bit of the chapter. If the little Crannogman could visit the Isle of Faces, maybe I could too. All the tales agree that the green men had strange magic powers. Maybe they could help him walk again, even turn him into a knight. They turned the Crannogman into a knight, even if it was only for a day, he thought. A day would be enough.
Which, like, I don't know if the Crannogman is the knight. Like, that's why I'm like so lost on just like who could escape. Who could sneak away to become this dude? Who is the right height to become this dude? Like, there's a lot of information I feel like I don't have in order to make some of these assumptions.
Agree, but I would also say, like, do you really need to sneak away? Like, if like you could just like take the armor off and then go to the feast, and you're.
But if it's Ned, aren't people going to be like, "Hey, Ned, watch this fight," and they'd be like, "Where's Ned?" Nobody knows.
You would notice your friend not being there, kind of. No, or Kyle, is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. And it's like somebody as important as Ned or Rhaegar or whoever.
That's true.
Jamie. It's this whole thing was for Jaime. It seems like something that Jaime wouldn't do, but it kind of seems Jaime-ish. Like it's kind of to throw us off the scent of Jaime. But like the other thing is like, why wouldn't the whole thing with Jojen and Meta, why your dad didn't tell you about the time he did this for my dad? Your dad didn't tell you? Like, really? Your dad didn't tell you that you did this all, that he did this stuff for my dad? Like, that's where I'm at with that. Like, that's why I'm thinking that is because Jojen keeps pushing it.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say, to make you feel less stupid, this is something that people still are like, what happened? Okay. Who was this Mystery Knight? This is something that's still debated in the fandom for sure.
It has to be Ned, though, right? Like I said, like the way they're so adamant that it's.
So one again, I think some of this is like fair to say because a lot of the evidence is just here. Like, who would know to challenge these people? Like, pretty much just the wolves and the Krennic men. Like that's the only people who knew about this story, right? Like, who knew that these guys were bullies. So I mean that narrows it down huge, right? So
four possibles.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're right or wrong, but and again, like people don't know the answer to this.
I mean that's not true, Nels, because they kind of went to the feast with other people. You don't know, like, if another, like, a bear might have been sitting on the other side of the table.
Again, you're right. They ate with the Mormonts. Like, they could have been saying, "Oh, I got fucked up. Like, why are you all bandaged?" You're right. They could have told a Mormont. Like, but like again, like the story seems like we should have like enough to kind of make guesses. So, but you're 100% right that like that logically there could be more people.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like if you were making odds, there'd be those four, and then like. The next group would be like high odds, like random Northmen would be. Yeah, that was how they would make.
Throw Tywin in as one, like a long shot.
That would be a long shot odd. That might be something that you sprinkle on for sure.
Yeah. Also, I think it's interesting. They don't spell it out here, but we're kind of getting like ties here because we heard from the Jaime chapter earlier, like, oh, Cersei had this plan of like, oh, you'll be in the Kingsguard, and then we'll be close forever because she was at court with Tywin, and then. Jaime, she has this plan to get like the way that she's going to get Jaime closer. He's going to get put on the Kingsguard. That's happening. And where's Tywin? Which is what we already heard. He took Cersei back to Castle Rock because he was pissed off. So, we're kind of getting the confirmation about that. So,
I'm good. I don't have anything else.
Yeah, we're going along. We talked about a lot of the predictions as we were going. Anything else? Anything you got, Kyle?
No, I think that's about it. I feel like you helped me with that. I don't want to say too much. But
I think it was borderline. I think we might have. It would have been. I think it's tough for us to not in some spots.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the fight, right? Like,
I think it's okay. Like
it's information we already had. It was words that we had read. Like it's not like it was like spoilers that you pulled from ahead of us or like offline or something like that.
Exactly.
And it's something that is still unknown too, as Nelson mentioned. Like people are still. It's not like this is like debated, a concrete spoiler where like me and Nelson aren't going in this next session being like,
Jeff and I are yada yada. We still have a lot to talk about going forward.
For sure. Yeah. But it'll be interesting.
Like I said, it's one of those things that I guess I could have went back and read kind of deal, but I didn't.
No, I think you're good. But yeah, I think that's it. We won't go any longer. We're already going a little bit long, and I don't think it'll be a super short spoiler section. So we'll see Kyle in the next one. We'll see the rest of you guys for Davos 3. Davos 3, I think.
All right, later, nerds.
Bye.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Bye, Kyle. Thanks for hanging out with us.
See you later. Now, on a spoiler section for Bran 2. Jeff, what we got?
All right, man. I think this is like, I'm kind of surprised you're like, oh, you're not going to like it. Like, even without the story, like, there's some stuff in this chapter that is eye-raising for sure.
Yeah, I didn't really think about it until I was reading too much, but yeah, now that you say that, I have. So let's talk about non-story spoiler stuff first.
Mm-hmm. And I've got a decent amount. All right, the first one is the little guy, this cave dweller.
He knows a lot.
He knows way too much.
It is weird. I'm not sure. I kind of take it just like the mountain clans have a good feel on things. I wish we would have touched on it with Kyle because I'm sure we talked about it actually in the Sam chapter. But like he says like dark wings, dark words. Ravens with no words is even worse. Might be even darker. I think we said that in the Sam chapter. Like we're like, oh fuck, he did.
I did. I mentioned it. If like even if you let a raven out and he doesn't have a message, but he only knows how to go to one spot, like that's obviously not good, right?
We said like so Sam had all these different letters prepared, and then he let all the ravens go without attaching any. I think, and it might have been you or some. It wasn't me. Somebody said it
because I'm a genius.
Somebody said Yeah, like when Castle Black, when like 20 ravens show up with no letters, it's gonna be like, oh shit, what the fuck happened?
Oh shit. Yeah, exactly. Like one might mistakenly like get out without a message, but when everyone comes back,
Yeah, exactly. And that's what the Little's saying here. Dark wings, dark words. He's like, when there's no words, I think that's even darker. Is I think what that Little says.
yeah.
So,
I don't know. I mean, I'd hate to.
To your point, it is interesting. How are you getting information from the wall? I didn't really think about this, but it's like the wall doesn't really
How do you
send
know that these
information
ravens
away.
came back?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what the timeline is.
Unless the ravens came back and then like, so say you're Bowen Marsh or Maester Aemon or whoever is in charge of Castle Black right now, and then all of a sudden all those ravens show up. Like, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to just be like asking for help to anyone possible. Like again, like this guy assumed it's bad. We assumed it was like it would be bad. I guess it could just be like,
Yeah.
I mean, what else could it be besides bad? Sam accidentally let all the ravens out. I mean, it's got to be bad.
No, yeah, it's got to be bad. You don't.
So what do you do then? Like you start asking for help. We need more men. So maybe that explains why he knows, is just because like as soon as this happens,
this cave dweller.
There's a call to, yeah, you're right.
But even like him knowing anything about what's going on in Winterfell, like I don't know. Like he's just super tied into the whole north.
Bastards, boys,
and
Krakens.
north of the wall.
Yeah, all directions. You're right. It's not just north.
So it's just, and then he's gone. Boom, he's gone.
And we never hear from him again.
It almost makes you think that Bloodraven like warged into a person and was like, "Hey, like go chill in this cave. Bran will be here." Not that Bran really learns anything from this guy.
Well, that's interesting. I didn't think about that, and I think there's going to be something I have for Bloodraven for you, and I would just say it now. That is interesting too. It's totally kind of unrelated, but again in this chapter, this tournament, and again I said we're going to separate the tournament and the non-tournament stuff.
Yeah, there you go. Just not following your own rules, but go ahead.
The tournament, it takes place during the year of the false spring. Do they say that at all in this chapter? It's in the Ned quote.
They do. They mention it.
It's in the Ned, and you just read the Ned quote, so it might be hard for you to
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
I think
it's
it was the Ned quote.
It's the year of the false spring, and what that is basically it was a winter, and then it became spring. The weather cleared up. The snow.
It just got a little bit warmer. It just got a little bit warmer.
It's exactly. It's like right now when we're in winter. Sometimes you get like, oh, it's great. It's great weather.
It's like
for
a random
2 weeks.
70.
Exactly.
Yeah, random like,
and then
it's like 50 degrees, and you think it's like people are wearing bikinis out.
Exactly.
Like
and then it snows again, and you're like, fuck, winter's not over. Punxsutawney comes out, sees his shadow. 6 more weeks of winter. You know what I mean? That's what happened here. But because the seasons are all fucked up, there was a whole year of this false spring. Instead of our 2 weeks of nice weather, they had a whole year of this where they thought it was spring. Howland Reed leaves the Island of Faces.
Yeah.
This tournament is really important. And again, we'll hold off on it. But I'm suggesting, and it's not my suggestion, like you said, I'm very unoriginal. This is something I've definitely heard from other people, that this false spring was actually caused by Bloodraven so that this tournament could happen. We needed a tournament to happen. We needed a lot of stuff happens at this tournament. We needed it to happen. So Bloodraven makes it nice weather, pulls probably some other strings so the tournament can happen, but he doesn't have enough magic to pull enough to actually make spring come early. He just has enough to like put winter at bay for a year. So
it's interesting. I didn't think of that at all. I mean, even if it's not a false spring, like we just know that these seasons are so unpredictable. Like you could have a year-long winter, then an 18. But like maybe the summer just never came. It was like bam, winter again. Like I don't know if it's not unnatural.
That's the other possibility, right? Is that the seasons just came out of order. But we never hear of that, which is why I like the Bloodraven
I'm not even
theory.
saying they're out of order. I'm just saying, like,
what do you mean?
Maybe it was just a colder. Well, I'm going to explain it to you. Maybe it was just a super short spring and like not as hot summer, and bam, here comes winter again. Like it.
What about fall? Where'd fall go?
Well, there's obviously a transition from spring to winter. Like the shit dies and it gets cold. That's fall. Like it's just super sped up. Like I'm saying, the seasons are inconsistent. It's not like you can predict that it's a 3-month deal. Like they said, the long winter was like how many years?
Well,
like
that's what I guess I'm disagreeing with. And again, this isn't. I don't know if this is on me. I've seen a lot of theories on this tournament. I think that like the whole like winter thing is. I guess this isn't really tournament related, but in my mind, the whole like winter. You're right that the seasons are really fucky, but in my mind, it's always winter, spring, summer, fall. And here we don't get the summer, fall. It's definitely like a winter, spring, winter. Which, to your point, maybe
sure,
it is.
But there's still a transition. Like, what is spring versus summer, really? Like, in the transitional period, what is spring? shit starts to grow back, right?
Yeah.
Dead plants start to grow.
Yeah.
So that
and then
still
if all
happens.
of a sudden there's snow on top of your plants before they die and stuff, then that's a false spring, right? Where plants thought it was springtime, they started to grow, and then all of a sudden, fuck no, it's still wintertime. If fall happens and the plants all die before the snows and shit come back, right? That's my, again, it doesn't really matter. We're probably thinking too much into this, but to me, like the year of the fall spring is more just like what we experience when we get like 2 weeks of good weather and then snow again. That's totally different. Like when we get 2 weeks of good weather, it's not like the second week the leaves change color. You know what I mean? Because we're about to get snow next week.
Yeah, I gotcha. I
think it's slightly different.
But this is also more like a year. It's not 2 weeks. Like it says it's a year.
Well, a normal winter for us is 3 months, not 2 years or 9 years, right? So a year winter is the same. You know what I mean? Ratio wise, is a 2 week
that it
fall
doesn't
spring
surprise
for us.
me at all. That's why it doesn't surprise me at all that it could be so erratic like this. Like boom, like yeah, shit was starting to grow. Wait, snowfall, bam, and like it just dies underneath the snow. Like that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, no, 100% possible. I just think that again, the whole point that what we're talking about this for is me bringing up the idea that Blood Raven is basically just like, trying to hold off winter for a little bit to allow this tournament to happen. And I'm trying to stay away for the reason why, but I'll dig into that when we go to the tournament spoilers. Let's go back to the
Let me just say one more thing. If he can truly control the weather, why wouldn't he just always be doing that?
I don't know if I actually believe I don't know if I actually believe this theory, but it's something I heard when I was looking into this, so
yeah.
I'll bring it up.
I just think it's super weird. Like I definitely read this first time, like, all right, who the fuck's this cave dweller? Like read right over it, like this is sketchy as shit. Like why is this guy here? Why is he so chill with Bran?
Is there a movie where this happens where like a random character shows up who like, what am I thinking of? You're the movie guy. You have to know what I'm thinking of.
I mean, if you could tell me more about what you're thinking of random.
I never thought this until you said it, but it's like a Blood Raven figure who's not real. Like this is like a person that's not even like a real person.
It's kind of like Bruce Almighty, the guy with the sign is like holding.
Yeah, that's I think what I'm thinking of. What's happening?
He's holding messages like the end of the earth is coming. Or it's like normal shit, just like
don't believe in God, $5 for a sandwich, whatever.
Whatever he says, and it's like. It's all like grammatically incorrect, and then like Jim Carrey's obviously making fun of him, but then it ends up being at the end of the movie you see that it was Morgan Freeman the whole time.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking of. Exactly, and it was actually influencing. Like he didn't think anything of it, but you keep seeing the guy throughout, and there's a point where he goes out and stands next to him.
Yeah,
with the sign.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm thinking. Yeah, okay. I think it's the same thing. I'll put that link in the Discord of that.
All right, so that's all I have on Little. It's just like super sketch.
Did you have you didn't say anything of it. I talked about this one in the non-spoilers, so I actually don't have too much to say here if you don't. But the whole like night and day, ice and fire, if ice can burn, then love and hate can mate.
I don't know. If love and hate can mate, it just kind of brings on like, can a Stark and a dragon...
That's if ice can burn. I didn't think about that either, but that's Lyanna Rhaegar, big time.
Right. Like can ice and fire?
Yeah.
Can ice and fire mate? That's like the only thing that I can think of.
I didn't think about that at all. That's a good call out. I mean, just ice and fire. I don't know what that should immediately make me think Lyanna Rhaegar. Also, I want to just because of that quote, I just want to read the Robert Frost poem, and I haven't actually even read it before this podcast. I just that this quote is a Robert Frost poem reminder. And I'm going to read it. So the Robert Frost poem is Fire and Ice, which again was definitely an influence for George. And the poem is, some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. Hate's in there. There's no love in that quote, but hate's in there, and that's what Jojen says. If ice can burn, then love and hate can mate. I don't know. That poem just gives me Robert Frost Fire and Ice vibes. So
yeah, I mean, I don't really know.
I still got no more connections to it, but yeah. We'll just leave that there.
That's like the only thing I can think of. Like,
that's a great call. I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
but and again, we'll get more into that when we get to the tourney stuff. So what's next?
All right. So my next one is Jojen saying the wolves will be back. I tried to like play it off to Kyle a little bit, like, hey, his dreams are ambiguous, but like, if it actually means a wolf is coming back, who is it and when?
Well, that's interesting. I didn't think about it that way, but you're talking about Jon. Like Jon actually comes back. Well, or Cat. Cat comes back.
No, I was thinking like is Sansa coming back to Winterfell? Like
Oh, I thought you were talking about like back from the dead.
back to life? No. No, I'm thinking like actually like who's gonna come back and take over
Well,
Winterfell?
let's think about show. I wasn't even thinking about Winterfell.
Obviously it's Sansa. And then Jon.
Bran's the king. That was my next spoiler point. Is in the show, Bran becomes king, and I kind of got.
Bran becomes king, but this is kind of like talking about Lord of Winterfell.
Well, hang on. I think I actually got too geeked up about it in the spoiler section too. When I was all like, Bran's gonna give him 100 berries and 100 pine nuts. That was like me thinking, Bran the king. Like Bran is actually gonna be king, and like this is a king dealing out just like doing what you'd want a king to do. Like you help the random dude out in a cave. You'd hope that he comes back and
he'd throw a bone back to you.
Yeah. Also, now that I'm thinking about it, Bloodraven does exactly what you're saying. You're saying with the whole little thing. He does it with Sir Maynard Plum in the Mystery Knight, the Dunk and Egg book. Sir Maynard Plum is Bloodraven.
He warged him.
He is him the entire time. He has like one eye.
Well, he like
Dunk sees him
himself for him, right?
Yeah, Dunk sees him with
that's
like one eye.
Bloodraven's running around and he's a warrior. Bloodraven right now is in a tree.
You're right. That would have to be like a vision, or he's warging into a person or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just was thinking like, shit. I mean, you might know some Winter chapters. Like, is Sansa any closer to coming back to Winterfell?
No, what's going on with Sansa is Littlefinger setting up a big tournament at I forget what it's called, the castle at the base of the Eyrie, the one that the Royces.
Is that like the Royces? Yeah.
The Royces' house. There's a big tournament there. Miranda Royce and Sansa just came down. Is that the Winds of Winter chapter where Miranda and I think it is.
I didn't read it.
Where's Sansa and Dance? I think it's Miranda and Sansa coming down the.
About to get married off, I think, or not. There's suitors there for her. I thought
Harry's the heir comes to the Eyrie, comes up. Do they leave? Yeah. I don't think so. I think the Winds of Winter chapter is Sansa and Miranda Royce and everybody else leaving the Eyrie for the last time. Like it's winter time. To your point, the Eyrie is unoccupiable at wintertime. That's interesting. I didn't think about this.
What do you do during the winter up there?
Well, remember I said Ned was at the Eyrie for the winter that Halland spent. The winter that Halland spent at the Isle of Faces, Ned was at the Eyrie for. However, in the Sansa chapter, again, it might be the Winds of Winter one. Basically, what we learn is during wintertime, it's everybody get out of town, get down below
freezing point.
Get down to whatever that castle is, one at the base of the mountain.
Yeah.
So that Ned must have been chilling there, I guess.
Ned was either chilling south or did they just send him home for like, does he go home for winter break?
Dude, how cool would this be? An HBO movie, The Tourney of Harrenhal.
Yeah, there's definitely enough there for sure. That would be
so cool, dude. Barristan talks about this once we find out who Barristan is later. Also, I like how he sparked that. I like how we didn't talk about Kyle at all. When we gossiped about Kyle a little bit. I like how we sparked the Barristan spark, and we've had we've had 3 Whitebeard chapters.
We haven't seen him in forever.
Also, I guess while we're on the Kyle topic, I know we haven't gotten to the tourney talk yet, but should we have let him go? Should we have not read the thing? And
I don't know. Like if he was,
you were getting antsy. You were getting antsy. You were saying like, "Hey, the timelines, the Jamie thing. Does that make anything?"
He was so off base that it was kind of painful to see. Like,
but I'm sure me and you were just as clueless the first read. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's a little bit different. Like he literally was like, "Oh, this is a thing for Jamie." Like at some point, like he needed to
you're right. He was very wrong on timelines because I slipped up for Halland, which is again a Ned age person. Jamie is a Ned age person.
Right. He was so like on Ned age, but then when it came to the wolves, he was a whole generation ahead, and I'm like, what? Like we don't even know if Ned has uncles or aunts. Like I have no clue.
And I tried to feed it to him. I was like, there's literally no mention ever of a Ned mom or uncles ever.
Aunt, uncle, like ever. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then like he doesn't even know like Benjen's younger brother. Like he was just kind of his wheels were turning. I think he needed some guidance there.
Yeah, but again, it's one of the things where I wonder like if he would read these at normal speed. Like we're 3 years into this. You know what I mean?
If he would have read this at normal speed, he would have glossed over the story it had no meaning at all. Because that's how I read it. I was like, okay, it's just like a cool little history story.
Yeah.
Like you don't think of it being Lyanna and like it doesn't hit home at all unless you slow it down. So I don't think
that's why I love doing this podcast. Is like I literally will like search online, like probably like once a month. I'll Google like first time reading Game of Thrones just to see if anybody has put up a new YouTube video of their first time reading Game of Thrones and like what they're thinking. And we get that with Kyle. Like some weeks are not as good as the others because like some weeks like okay we don't learn much. There's not much to speculate on. But weeks like this where like he said it like he looks stupid. He does kind of look stupid.
So like,
it's just so great to like
think
because it just puts you back in those shoes where you remember the first time reading. Even though we both saw the show first, I'm sure I was confused as hell reading this chapter. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Absolutely. So, and I think just the majority of our listeners, and correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, comment on the Discord or comment on YouTube, however you're listening. You guys have all read it already for the most part.
Most people
seen
have
the show.
Like.
A lot of you guys are if you're going through the non-spoiler section, it's just because we're like kind of hitting on maybe some shit that you missed, and like it's not like you're getting. I don't think anybody's truly getting spoiled in the non-spoiler. Like if we told Kyle, like, all right, come on, like figure out the generational gap here.
Well, especially because I think at the very least, even if they haven't read and they're listening to this, I think it'd be really cool experience for people to listen to this podcast on their first read, like follow along on their first read. And again, this wouldn't really be possible or feasible until we're actually done it all. But listen along on their first read after having seen the show, right? Because then you get the best of both worlds. I feel like you could probably, I'd probably stay out of the spoiler section still, even if you don't listen to the show, right? Because we'll talk about John Con, for example.
Sure, I think you should definitely. I think you should definitely stay out of the non. If you're reading for the first time, chapter by chapter with us, it's almost like reading it like a time and a half, right? Because you're gonna hit some stuff that you missed.
But I think that's why it's good that we kind of give Kyle some of this stuff. Because imagine that you're on you've seen the show, read the book for the first time, and you're listening to the podcast in between reads. This one would probably help you with this chapter, even after having seen the show. You still aren't going to know who.
I mean, I don't even remember if the show like hits on this at all. Like
Brandon is barely mentioned in the show. Yeah, there's no mention of the Tornado Harrenhal in the show. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So they kind of forgot.
Do you have anything?
All right, next one.
Do you have anything?
I got two more. I got a couple more things.
Yep, go ahead.
Two more things, really quick. They see the eagle flying. Is that Orell flying, like scouting out the wall?
I was thinking that too, but I think Bran would have said something. Again, it's hard to tell because he isn't experienced enough. But I think he would have said something like, "Oh, I couldn't because it was occupied," not like because it was too far away.
That was my thought. I didn't think it was because he couldn't do it. I thought it was because it was like he wasn't strong enough to outwarg Orell.
Yeah, but to your point, it could be. Last time we saw Orell, he was attacking Jon, ripping Jon's face, literally attacking.
And we know they're getting towards the wall to start climbing, and it would just make sense for that eagle to be,
to your point,
scouting out the wall to see like where should we climb.
Well, to your point, when he asked the little, "How far are we from the wall?" the little says,
"Not far as the raven flies."
And this is an eagle, but same concept. Yeah, right? Not far.
And it's also, I actually wrote that quote down, and we talked about like how it probably just changed because like ravens are more prominent in this time.
Yeah.
This story. But like, why didn't he say crow? Like, there's crows flying around too.
I get confused between raven, crow. I still always call the three-eyed crow the three-eyed raven because of the show.
Sure,
it's the three-eyed crow, not the three-eyed raven. I get fucked up because of the show.
And then, but it's blood raven, which brings you back to ravens too. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
I wrote down raven.
The three-eyed crow.
I wrote down that quote because it says raven, and it makes me think that blood raven said raven because of it being him.
I really like your idea of blood raven having something to do with the little, because it doesn't make sense how he knows so much, and I didn't think about that at all. It's a really good idea.
All right, last one, non-story mode is Hodor being named Walder.
Yeah, interesting. Again, what we think of Hodor is, and
I don't remember, like, obviously the show doesn't tell you that his name's not Hodor until the flashbacks.
Yeah. And
then he's holding the door.
Yeah. Well, where I was going with that was, I wasn't sure. We haven't really seen any of that though. And Kyle he didn't say this in the non-spoiler because we told him don't say anything that like could spoil somebody who hasn't seen the show. Which, to your point, I don't think there's many listening to this, but in the show, that's from the show. There's no hint of that at all in the books yet. That the Hodor is going to be a hold the door thing, right? Like, all the book readers were super surprised. I'm pretty sure when they read that. I don't think that was a theory.
I think
it's
actually a great. It's a great
super
surprise.
Awesome. Yeah, super
it's a great
cool.
surprise, a great kind of play on this noise that he's making. But if we think about George, and I guess this is being meta, why did he pick the noise Hodor?
Yeah, are you saying
Right.
did from day one did he have the hold the door planned? Is
Why
that what
name
you're
this
saying?
guy? Yeah,
Otherwise,
why name this guy Hodor,
if
and
not,
why not make that his actual
if you
name?
didn't have
Why
if you
wouldn't?
didn't have the hold the door thing planned from the very beginning, why
Yeah,
name this guy Hodor?
or at least
And
right. It had to be from the beginning because he's one of the first characters mentioned at Winterfell,
exactly.
right?
And so another thing on those lines is George has said that when he decided to write Game of Thrones, he was in the middle of writing a science fiction novel about space travel. And then he says all of a sudden out of nowhere, from the muse, you could say, came to him the vision of direwolf pups in the snow. And which is Bran 1, the first Bran chapter. That's like he was in the middle of writing a science fiction book, and the Bran 1 chapter came to his head. Something about summer snows and direwolf pups. Those two things. Summer snows and direwolf pups are the things that he's like, those two things came to me. I think if you're thinking Bran 1, and that, to your point, Hodor's early on, the hold the door thing has to be super important. Like more important than it was in the show even.
And I think this quote says a lot. Hodor's not his true name. It's just some word he says.
Some word.
It's not a word.
You're saying if it goes like we do. The thing is that I think is really interesting about this too is I bet you the show is pretty close to what happened to Hodor, but it's not exactly. I bet you a lot of book readers think what the show did is exactly what happens to Hodor, and I bet you it's not. I bet you it's close, but it's not the.
I bet it's pretty close too.
But I bet you there's a difference that because if you assume that the show is the way it is, you're missing something. Is my thought. Like I agree that it's close, but you're missing something if you assume it's the way that the show is.
I mean, I don't even know.
Open your mind more. I think.
I don't know if you could mix another phrase like Hodor. Like I don't even like. It's just so hold the door in my mind.
No, that's not even
now,
what I mean. That like I agree that it's probably hold the door. I just mean like in terms of like, was Bran really like he was just watching something in Winterfell and happened to accidentally warg into Hodor, or was it like an on purpose thing?
Mirrors yelling, hold the door.
Yeah, like was it on purpose? Exactly. Like I bet it's gonna be, and maybe it is exactly like that. There's like, something different.
Are you saying like Blood Raven might have fucked up Hodor back in the day?
Blood Raven might have just done it instead of Bran. Like we think it was Bran, but it might have just been Blood Raven. Maybe
if Blood Raven knows this is gonna play out, and he's like, I just need this big ass giant dude to hold the door later on. Like I need to mentally fuck up this dude to be just Hodor guy.
If we go with the Preston Jacobs theory, Preston Jacobs' little twist on this is that Bran has just relived this over and over and over again. Bran got here to the Three-Eyed Raven one time without Hodor, and then they died because there was no one to hold the door. And then the next time Bran relived it, he went back in time and warred into Hodor's mind so that wouldn't happen.
What do you mean Bran time traveling Bran?
Exactly. Bran's time traveling, just warging back into himself back in time. Right? If he can warg into Hodor and make Hodor hold a door, then he can eventually he'd be strong enough to warg into his past self. I think is the premise of the time traveling Bran Preston Jacobs theory, where he just basically keeps redoing this over and over again. Each time he gets killed.
Yeah, it's like learning something new about the level. Like
exactly,
I
how are Bran and Sam getting to the wall at the exact same time? And the answer is Blood Raven might be doing it, but the other answer is time traveling Bran might be doing it.
Bran's timing it up that I need to be at this point right now.
Well, also Bran is in the future going back in time and doing the Blood Raven shit to make sure Sam's there. But again, we don't got to go down there. All right.
So let's get into the story. Yeah. That's all I have.
I have one more thing. Mira tells Bran to remember, again, I think this is really cool. The little bit about old Nan. He's like old stories are like old friends. You got to visit him once in a while. Again, especially when we're doing something like this, where like that's what the spoiler section is dedicated to. But Mira also says, remember old Nan's stories and she will live forever. Like remember the way she says them, remember her voice, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And in the show, Bran becomes the memory of Westeros, right? Again, I don't know. A lot of people I don't think really liked it, but they have that meeting at Winterfell. Like, what is the Night King after? They're after, and Sam's like, they're after Bran. He's the Three-Eyed Raven. He is our memory. He's the history of everything. So I just think she's like, remember old Nan and she'll live forever. Bran, if it goes the way the show did, he's the one who remembers everything. He's the history of everything.
Yeah.
Like the actual history, not like a written down, like an actual in his mind, he can go back and look at how it actually went down. So kind of like everyone will live forever in that sense. if it goes that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, let's get into the story because there's a lot to unpack.
Yep.
The crowning men were cool with saying is Howland Reed.
Yeah. I accidentally said that, but I'm pretty sure it's Howland Reed.
Yeah. Howland Reed, what the fuck's he doing spending a year at the Isle of Faces?
Dude, we know nothing about the Isle of Faces. We've heard about this once before. It was another quote I was considering reading, but
are people so scared of this place because of like why you would think that would be like a spot that like people would be sailing out to every day.
So I'll read the quote for it. This is from Bran 7, Game of Thrones. But some 12,000 years ago, the first men appeared from the east, crossing the broken arm of Dorne. Fort was broken. They came with bronze swords and great leathern shields, riding horses. No horse had ever been seen on this side of the narrow sea. No doubt the children were as frightened by the horses as the first men were by the faces in the trees. As the first men carved out holdsfasts and farms, they cut down the faces and gave them to the fire. Horror-struck, the children went to war. The old songs say that the green seers used dark magic to make the seas rise and sweep away the land, shattering the arm. But it was too late to close the door. The wars went on until the earth ran red with blood, of men and children both, but more children than men, for men were bigger and stronger, and wood and stone and obsidian make poor match for bronze. Finally, wise men of both races prevailed, and the chiefs and heroes of the first men met the green seers and the wood dancers amidst the weirwood groves of a small island in the lake called the God's Eye. So that's what we know of the green men.
Mm-hmm.
From that pact, the green men were set to pretty much watch over the weirwoods on that island. And there's a quote that says, like, I'm not sure where it's from. It might be Fire and Blood, might be The World of Ice and Fire, but it pretty much says that any man that tries to get to the island, I thought it was in there, basically gets the winds blow him you can't. The winds
off.
Yeah. The winds just start stirring when you get really close to the island.
But Howland Reed was accepted.
Howland Reed didn't have that problem.
He was worthy of coming.
This is why Howland Reed, like, people have asked George why we haven't seen Howland Reed, and he's like, I can't put Howland Reed on page without giving too much away.
I mean, it makes sense. Like, if we're just going to continue to go on like the Blood Raven of this all, like, he's the one controlling the winds. He's accepting Howland Reed because he knows what Howland's going to be to Ned at the tower, and probably something coming later on in this deal.
You're not a huge, like, you don't like watching theories and stuff on YouTube, which is good. I think it's good for you to kind of come in. It's interesting to have you as like the one-time read-through take, right? Like most people who probably read it one time.
The original thought person.
Yeah, you forget most of the really complicated people, but you get you know most of the stuff. But there's a really good YouTube channel, In Deep Geek, one of the best Song of Ice and Fire channels. One of the things that he always says is, when in doubt, blame Blood Raven. And I feel like you're 100% in that camp. Like,
I am in that camp.
and I'm kind of in that camp too. I think it's a very logical
especially
camp
when it comes to like just natural stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the wind isn't allowing you to come to this island. Like, grow up. Like, what does that mean?
I got you. Yeah.
How is the wind just from all directions? It's it's literally an island and a lake. Yeah. Come on. I didn't know if I knew that Howland Reed had powers.
I mean, again, it's weird because it's a story. So, like, what do you take with a grain of salt? But you're saying Mira's like he could breathe mud and run on leaves, and
I think that's more so just rumors of Crowning Men.
That's very similar to like descriptions we get of Children of the Forest, actually.
Yeah, I was just more along the lines thinking of, we know jraijin is his son, has sight. Did Howland have sight?
Well, Bran asked, can he have the green dreams like jraijin? It's one of the very first things she said. Did he have green dreams like jraijin? She says no, but he could breathe mud and run on leaves. He could change earth to water and water to earth with a whisper. He could talk to the trees and make castles disappear. So Bran asked, does he have dreams?
Yeah.
He says no.
Yeah.
But then, to your point, it goes on all this weird magic-y shit.
Right. But like Howland Green being a Children of the Forest, like
and that's all before like dragons are back. So like, how is like, I accept magic post dragons. I don't accept magic Game of Thrones pre dragons. You need some heavy proof for that. Like Melisandre was having no shadow babies before there was dragons.
Right. All right. Tywin not being there, just
Jamie
put it down.
Jamie was getting knighted. He was pissed because he lost his heir. Again, Kyle is still in the camp for some reason that, like, it doesn't matter if you're in a Kingsguard, you can still get married. Like, the Lannisters are above that, but, like, that's not really true. Like, Tywin was pissed when this happened, big time. Yeah. Kyle's in the camp like, oh, whatever, I'll just marry him anyway. Like, that's not how this works, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to the point where Kyle was also like, is this Tywin being? I don't think obviously Tywin's not the Laughing Knight, but it's curious to think of Tywin doing something during this tournament to like mess with people. I don't know.
So I think Ares actually thinks that Jaime was the Knight of
Is
the
the
Laughing
Laughing
Tree.
Knight?
Yeah, because
But to Kyle's
Because
point
Ty-
too, like you're
because-
gonna notice if Jaime's not at the tourney.
Ares sends Jaime away. As soon as he's knighted, he sends him back to King's Landing. Again, because he doesn't really, he's not a huge fan of Jaime. He's just trying to piss off Tywin, and he's trying to be like, this is literally the biggest party ever. Like this isn't the biggest tournament that Hal and Reed's ever been to. This is the biggest tournament in the history of Westeros, pretty much. And Jaime doesn't get to be there. Nope, go back to King's Landing. Fuck you. Go watch my wife or whatever. I don't know if his wife was there or not, but you know what I mean? Like he's literally just saying, he's saying, fuck you, Tywin. I'm knighting your son. Like Kingsguard knighting. Fuck you, Jaime. You're not allowed to be at the biggest party ever. Go back to King's Landing. So I think, and I'm not sure actually
so
where
you're
we
saying
hear
that
this.
Jaime did get knighted and then sent away.
Exactly. Yeah.
So he could have came back as like a scrawny little knight.
I think that's
maybe.
what Ares thinks. I think Ares thinks that basically after he
like
sent
go
Jaime
go
away,
and mess that guy so that we can
see it's Jaime. Because basically I knighted him, sent him away, and then Ares thinks he came back and pretended to be the last.
And that would make sense of why Ares thought he's not a friend of mine.
The other thing with Ares that's really interesting is, do you know what the Defiance of Duskendale is? Ares was captured, brought to Duskendale, and held prisoner there.
And that's where Barristan broke him
one-handed, exactly. Tywin's basically like, hey, it's pretty much a toss-up. Like, we're going to have to like attack the city and hope they don't kill him. I think is pretty much what Tywin's thinking. And Barristan's like, hold on, give me a shot. Let me go in solo.
Give me 3 good men.
Give me no men. Let me go in solo. And Barristan does it. This is, again, Barristan is a goat.
That's the legend of Barristan.
He goes in and single-handedly rescues Ares. That was in 277.
And then they ring. Do they ring bells at that point too?
That's the Battle of the Bells during Robert's Rebellion. So not at that point. So that's 277. This tournament is 281. It's the first time Ares has left
since he was captured.
Since that happened, he's been pretty much. That is when he goes mad. Pretty much all the reports of Ares before the Defiance of Duskendale, pretty normal. Cat. After that, super paranoid. Nobody's allowed near him with the sword except for the Kingsguard. So his nails are super long because he doesn't cut his own nails. He hasn't cut his nails in years.
That's
like
weird.
Just crazy shit because he won't let anyone near him with swords and stuff like that.
Yeah. Why can't he cut his own nails?
I don't know. But yeah, I cut my own nails. But that's why it's a huge thing that he's coming out here, and like people are kind of like offset by him because he started to be crazy and like I think burn people alive and stuff like that. But also like it's still your king, which is probably like why Robert is like, yo, I'll get this guy for you. I mean, Robert also is probably just like, yo, I'm the best. I'm going to do it anyway. But
yeah.
So let's go some of the people. We don't know pretty much the people at Harrenhal. We don't know really any of them. Kyle, we kind of fed him the Starks. We have the Knight of Skulls and Kisses. You said that's one of the 1% you don't know. Richard Lawnmouth. Again, this is one of just Rhaegar's friends. We've actually heard him once before.
Is that his sigil or is that his nickname?
He was Rhaegar's second. That's his sigil. It's lips and skulls. And he was Rhaegar's second squire. Rhaegar knighted him, and they were basically friends after that, is what we've heard of him so far. This is the person that I've told you that there are theories that Lem is.
Okay.
And part of the reason that there are theories that Lem is this person is because in the last Arya chapter, literally the last chapter, when Lem is talking to the Ghost of Highheart, she talks about her dreams. And Lem makes a joke. It says, I dreamed something last night. Do you remember what he says?
My mother was alive?
No, that's what the Little says in this chapter. It's actually very similar to the Lem thing. He says, I dreamed this. Like, doesn't mean shit. Which is exactly what Lem says to the Ghost of Highheart last chapter. It's the same thing Little says to Jojen. But what Lem says is, I dreamed of a barmaid I was kissing last night. Or you're going to pay me for that, old lady. And she's like, dead the maid is. Only worms may kiss her now. Right, which again is not 100% a skull and kisses metaphor, but I think that's one of the big things that the people who, and I think I was in this camp of the Lem, is Richard Lawnmouth.
Lem is this skull and kiss guy?
Exactly, the skull and kiss guy. Just because of that, the skulls and like he's talking about a girl he was kissing and then she says she was dead. Yeah, exactly. Which, again, now looking back on it, not super strong evidence. But the fact that the chapters are back-to-back, like our mention of the Skulls and Kisses, especially because we don't actually get his name, we just get his sigils, kind of interesting. Then we
keep
get the
going.
maid with laughing purple eyes.
Ashara.
Ashara Dane. She dances with a
Everybody,
white sword.
dude.
Well, let's think about this. So why is she here?
That's the what?
I don't think you know this.
Why is she there? It's the biggest tourney ever. Why wouldn't she be there?
That's not why. That's true, but that's not why she's there. She's actually like a pretty southern Dornish house, and there weren't actually many Dornish houses at this tournament. Mostly Riverlands, Stormlands, like even Reach a little bit north, but
Where are the Danes? Near
super
Old Town?
south. Yeah, exactly. Kind of south of Old Town in Dornland, Starfall.
She dances with every. All right, so why is she there? I mean, we know there's a Dane in the Kingsguard.
Yep, she was actually. So I don't think you know this.
Is she getting married off to somebody? Like, are
No.
they like showing her off to get married?
She was a like lady friend of Elia Martell, Rhaegar's
So
wife.
she was one of the 12 girls that rode
Exactly.
with Princess.
Exactly. She was one of the ladies at court who had come to court with Elia so that she would have friends around her because Elia's a Dornish lady.
Yeah.
Ashara's a Dornish lady. Let's come to court with me, I guess is how that worked out. So I have friends. She's hanging out at court, probably maybe even being a maid kind of for Elia.
Nah, no.
I don't know how that works, but
she's highborn. She's getting mated on.
lady, I think her title is Lady in Waiting. I don't know what that means. But
It
she
would
was
be
a
like-
lady in waiting to Elia.
It'd be like Sansa.
Waiting for a marriage? Is that what that means?
wait.
I don't know. I can Google it.
I don't know. Actually, I don't
Is
know.
a female personal assistant at court attending on a royal woman or high-ranking noblewoman.
Yeah.
Historically, in Europe, a lady in waiting was often a noblewoman of lower rank than the woman who she attended.
That makes sense. I didn't know that at all.
I think it's more like friend than actual maid. Just like
She's not like making her bed and whatnot.
Yeah, I think it's just like, oh, she'll go with me when I wanted to do
Hey,
stuff.
I want to go drink some tea. You're coming to drink tea.
Yeah,
with me.
like, hey, we're gonna go see a movie. You don't get to choose the movie. I do, but you get to come. You get to come.
You get to come with
that
me.
type of thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So let's go through who she danced with. So
Now that we know that, a lot of who she danced with should make more sense as she's not just like a flirt.
It doesn't surprise me who she danced with because one's like either her brother or her cousin or uncle.
So a white sword. We don't know who, but
we know it's the Dane.
probably the Dane. Exactly. Probably her brother, Arthur Dane.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I didn't even think about that. The one's a Viper, Doran.
The Red Snake, Oberyn Martell. She's a lady in waiting to Elia Martell, who's Oberyn's sister.
Yeah.
So again, this isn't really a flirt.
And
It might be a
Oberyn's
flirty
definitely
thing.
Oberyn's definitely going to be at this tournament because why not?
Exactly,
Like,
but it's probably not a flirty thing. It's more of a just like, oh, we're friends. Like we know each other.
I know
because,
who you are. Let's dance.
You're my
type
sister's
thing.
best friend. Exactly.
Yeah.
The Lord of Griffins. Who's the Lord of Griffins? This is one that I was wondering if you were into this one.
Is it John Con?
Yes, nice, good.
I remember he's called Griff. So
And John Gon is one of Rhaegar's best friends. Like when we get his chapters, a lot of people think John Con was actually gay and in love with Rhaegar.
which he's probably at court
Exactly.
as well.
So he's just a friend. So it's not, again, most people write a lot of these off as not romantic, right? Unless you know who these people are,
yeah.
they're not romantic. But once you know they're not romantic, they're just like friends. Especially John Con, he's probably gay. Again, I haven't read his chapters in a while.
I'd have to go back and I don't remember him.
When we started the book, I said Renly and Loras were probably gay. Now that we've gone through it with a fine-tooth comb, they're 100% gay.
Sure.
So I maybe if I reread John Con, I would say the same thing.
Is it kind of like Dumbledore-ish vibes? Maybe like
I don't
maybe
remember.
it's
Again,
not
I haven't
as
read the chapters in a while. I need to go through Dance. Dance is probably the book I haven't read in the longest. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure. But I'm pretty sure the fans accept that he was in love with Rhaegar. Like actually, like in love.
Interesting.
Yeah. So again, the whole point there is just that not romantic dance, and then the last person that she dances with is Ned.
Super interesting point, and I think it's to your point of how you asked in the non-spoiler. Like, is it creepy, or is Ned trying to dance with her and like he needed a wingman? Because that's a completely different story.
Exactly. And hold on, I'll stop you there. Barristan actually tells Dany, once she knows who Barristan is, she tells him about this tournament later. And he was in love with...
He tells her
about the tournament. And he had a crush on Ashara. So he kind of rattles off some of the same stuff. And he says that she was dishonored by Stark. Which this is where, remember, like I have all these theories I've thrown by you. Who is Jon's parents? Is it Ashara Ned? Is it Ashara Brandon? Yeah. This is where it all comes from. Is all this tourney is where all that, like, who is Ned's Jon's tourney parents comes from.
And Barristan saying that she was dishonored.
But that was at the tourney. So at the tourney, we know she danced with Ned, but who dishonored her? It doesn't sound like Ned would do that, right? Ned, and Ned invited Hallen to sleep in his tent. At least that first night. We don't know about every night, but it makes sense that every night after, right? You're not going to invite him.
You're saying like he wasn't solo to have like a woman there in his tent.
If you invite Hallen, exactly. Like I'm not the kind. You know me. I'm not the kind of guy who, when we're going to a party, I'm looking for girls, and I'll let anybody sleep in my room if they need a spot to sleep. You know what I mean? But that means I'm not the guy bringing Ashara Dane back, right? That's Brandon.
Right.
Brandon's bringing Ashara Dane back. So again, I've never really thought about it this hard, but from now on, I'm thinking that Ned. If we're going John Parent...
If John is a Dane, it's Brandon and Ashara?
It's Brandon and Ashara, not Ned and Ashara. It's got to be. Ned's either way, even if it's Ned was shy and wanted to dance with her and Brandon had to ask, maybe, if that's the case, then maybe there's a chance it's Ned and Ashara. But it would have had... That dance would have had to go really well. You know what I mean? Like, Ned would have really had to open up by the end of that dance for them to go back to Ned's tent, or him to be like, Hallen, you got my tent by yourself. And the other thing is that we pointed out, like, the framing of this story as like being told by Mira, there's a chance that Ned was like, yo, take my tent. I don't need it. You know what I mean? I got a spot to sleep tonight. Like, and we just don't hear that part of it because it's a story being told. Like, that's a possibility too.
Yeah, right. And it's also a story, like, you're assuming because of the way jraijin's reacting of like, Ned didn't tell you this, Ned didn't tell you this.
Yeah.
That Hallen told jraijin and Mira this. And so it's kind of like word of mouth traveling now. Like, just the second time the story has been told, like, you know how it can change a little bit.
Yep.
But
so I think the last thing to talk about is Night of Laughing Tree.
Well, let me just rattle off some shit. The she-wolf cried at the Dragon Prince's song. Like, it's just...
So this is another thing. And I'm glad that we didn't go too much. I'm glad that once we gave Kyle the answers, we didn't go back and go through it too much.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of onto it a little bit, right? Like, he said, oh, what if Lyanna's John's mom? He said that recently.
Yeah.
And we know that Rhaegar, like, what Kyle should be thinking is that Rhaegar kidnapped and raped Lyanna.
Yes.
And that's what started Robert's rebellion, right?
Right.
And this kind of hints that Lyanna didn't hate...
liked...
Yeah, at least didn't hate him. And that doesn't mean that you can't be raped. You can be raped by somebody you like. That's not impossible.
Sure.
But a lot of this, and what we're going to go into with the Night of Laughing Tree, is that it's Lyanna. Like, Lyanna is the Night of A lot of people think Lyanna is the...
Right.
That's the accepted theory.
We've talked about this pretty... It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
All right, before we get to the Laughing Tree, let me just see... I just have a note that jraijin couldn't believe Ned. jraijin not... Or Ned not telling the story to Bran almost makes Ned seem like he was hiding something from that night.
It makes me 100%. I'm 100% thinking it's super weird that Ned hasn't told this story, and it makes me think that it has to be related to Jon. The only reason Ned wouldn't tell,
I have another
is
reason.
if it was related to the thing he's promised not to tell about.
Sure, or if it's like dishonorable to Kat, like the mother of your children, that like, oh, I was the one dancing with Ashara because I really like. If the story is that Ned likes Ashara, like maybe he was in love with Ashara and he wanted to dance with her and he was so nervous, well, that makes it super awkward now that like she's dead and you're married to. It almost makes it seem like the Ned Ashara Jon story could be more plausible because he's ashamed that he did dishonor the mother of his other children with Ashara and Jon.
That's really interesting.
So, like, that's why he's not telling the stories, because he was actually in love with Ashara, had this bastard, and
100%. And I know times are different, but like I hang out with your family all the time. Like, I feel like your dad would have no problem telling a story about an ex-girlfriend,
like a girl in middle school that he liked.
And I feel like your mom would crack up about it. You know what I mean? So, but again, this is totally different. And
it's a little bit different.
There's a whole dishonor thing. Like, yeah, we don't
dishonor. Like, is there another? Do I have a half brother running around out there that I don't?
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm not saying it's the exact same thing, but I don't know how. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Why is Ned not telling the story? There's two reasons. One is because it leads to Lyanna and Rhaegar having Jon, or it's because it leads to Ned and Ashara having Jon.
Along those lines.
Or Dany. I'm not going to throw that possibility out there that it's not.
Yeah, sure. But along those lines, I read the Ned quote of Ned thinking about this.
Mm-hmm.
There's a really important part about this that he just totally doesn't mention one time at all. The part we haven't talked about yet. The Night of the Laughing Tree. In his memory, there's no mention of a Night of the Laughing Tree.
It's just Rhaegar winning.
It's just Rhaegar winning, which is interesting because at first, when I first realized
was Ned not there that day?
Well, at first it made me think like, you know what? Ned didn't think about that because George hadn't written it. But then my second thought is like, that's too meta. Ned didn't think about it because it was him. The accepted fan theory is that it's Lyanna, but the second most accepted theory is that it's Ned. Like Kyle's right in the.
How about
Ned.
a third theory that he's running around with Ashara falling in love that day, and he wasn't even at the tourney?
Well, to Kyle's point, like you think that like when they're trying to figure out who this is, there'd be a note of like who's not here. The person who they wouldn't think twice about, though, which I think is again another hint to Lyanna that I haven't heard anybody think about, is guess who wasn't at the Hands tournament?
Ned.
No, well, he wasn't for the first day, but out of his two daughters, Sansa loved the tournament. She was geeked up. Arya, fuck it, I got better stuff to do. I'm chasing cats. So it makes you think, like, I wonder, nobody batted an eye when Arya wasn't at the tournament. We've heard Arya is very similar to Lyanna. Would anybody bat an eye if Lyanna wasn't at the tournament? I don't know. You know what I mean?
No.
I think it's kind of a hint towards it might be Lyanna.
But isn't it like she still has people caring for her? Like she has handmaids, she has a septa that is like there's so many eyes around these highborn people.
Well, to your point, there might be people, but Sansa. Think about Sansa and Arya. It's the closest thing we have, right? And
yeah, I mean, I guess Arya more than ever. Like Arya is on her own a lot, so like I guess it's not impossible. Like if you can get away from a septa,
I think it's possible that it's her. I think it's, again, like I said to Kyle, there's 4 options. 5. Howland Reed.
There's
Benjen.
Again, there Brandon, could be more,
Ned,
but
and Lyanna. That's
for the story. It's those 4.
It's 5
for sure.
You said 4, which I think was good, but I mean Benjen.
Who's the 5 you're thinking of?
The 4 Starks, including Lyanna.
4 Starks,
and
I don't think Howland's an option at all.
Me either, but
that's why I said 4.
You said 4 in the non-spoiler too, and I think it was actually good because it, to me, what Kyle should have taken from that was Howland, Ned, Brandon, or Benjen, and just left Lyanna.
Oh,
she's a girl,
she's
a girl.
She was,
exactly. Yeah. So I didn't mind that you said when you said 4, I was like, wait a minute, what does that mean? Because if you said 5,
I was.
If you said 5,
like
I thought it would have been actually a giveaway that Lyanna was a possibility. So when I thought about it, I was like, that's good.
Reading it this time. And I think when we talked about this last, was like, what? Like, no way, Lyanna. Like, it's giving me Lyanna vibes.
100%. So the other thing is, Rhaegar crowns Lyanna. So one thing I want to say is,
let's talk about the sigil
Hang on.
first.
Real quick.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the sigil in a second. Last chapter, me and you had a conversation about the Tom of Seven song. I'll lay you in my feather bed and dress you in silk. And then the second one is you'll wear a crown of flowers.
Yeah.
And bind, or you wear a silk of flowers, and I'll bind your hair with grass, or something like that. And you were like, "Why is she binding her hair with grass or wearing flowers?" Here, Rhaegar literally at the end of everything, which is what kind of causes a lot of problems. Rhaegar gives Lyanna a crown of flowers.
Sure.
I think that fits great with. I think that was one of the things that you had asked me about for the Tom song last chapter, and I didn't really have an answer off the top of my head for you. But when I was reading this chapter, I was like, "There's the crown of flowers. That's it. That's from the Tom song."
But I feel like we were talking about something else. It wasn't like we were trying to relate it to someone that wasn't Lyanna. That song. But
I thought I was trying to.
I don't remember. Yeah, I have to go back.
I'm not sure. But yeah, go ahead. Right. What were you saying about the sigils?
So it's just like, let's just think. If it is Lyanna, why is this her sigil of a mystery knight? Is it because Howland's praying to the old gods? Is it because
Stark, old gods, Laughing Tree?
Yeah, but like I just don't know why.
Why would Ned have that? Like, why would it be any of the other Starks over Lyanna though?
I mean, the only other I don't know.
I think it's just a cool Stark, like a not Stark logo, like old gods, Howland, especially because you're defending Howland Reed's honor.
I guess, and I don't want to do this because we already said like he could be like if you don't know, blame him. But Bloodraven, well, he's the weirwood tree.
Well, so you're right, and I know we're already going long. This probably is actually our longest podcast ever, but. The thing that I was saying earlier with why did the Bloodraven why would he have wanted to cause a false spring so that this tournament could happen? Rhaegar initially, so Aerys was going crazy. He wasn't leaving King's Landing. He hadn't left King's Landing in 4 years because of the Duskendale thing. A lot of the theories in the fandom, again, none of this is confirmed. If I don't give you guys a quote, it's not confirmed. I'm giving you guys speculation. A lot of the fans speculate that this whole tournament, and again, we'll probably get more evidence for this in the future. I don't think we have it yet. But that this tournament was set up by Rhaegar. And again, we know that it was set. I know that we find out in the future that it was set up by Oswell Went, who is one of the 3 Kingsguard who's at the Tower of Joy.
The bat sigil.
Guess who is the Lord of Harrenhal?
Catelyn's grandma.
Well, the Wents.
Yeah.
It's actually his brother. Oswell Went's brother is Lord of Harrenhal when this tournament's set up. Oswell Went goes to Harrenhal and arranges this tournament. Like he visits Harrenhal, and then a few months later, this tournament happens. The assumption is he was sent by Rhaegar to do this, and the idea was, hey, we're going to overthrow my dad. But his dad got whiffs of this and decides to show up. And that's why it's like a big point that all 6 of the Kingsguard were there. Mm-hmm. All 6 of the Kingsguard don't normally go anywhere. You'd leave some with the wife or the children or whatever. He was paranoid as shit, but he needed to be at this tournament because he thought something was up. Rhaegar was playing at something was up, so he shows up. When he shows up, Rhaegar kind of calls off all the plots, right? But again, that and then the tournament, everything that we know about the tournament happens. But that kind of is the idea of like, why did Bloodraven cause this year of the false spring? Again, it was at Bloodraven. Who knows? It's speculation. But why would he want to? Because him and Rhaegar seem to have similar visions. Maybe they're trying to overthrow, like they're working together. Like, hey, I'll cause the false spring. You have the tournament.
You call all the people together to...
There's not a direct correlation. There's not actually a ton of direct correlation or symbolism or connections that I see between the Mystery Knight Dunk and Egg book in this chapter, except for that, right? That's kind of what's happening in the Mystery Knight is they have a Blackfire, John the Fiddler, who comes over, pretends to be a Mystery Knight, and it's not the Mystery Knight in this story isn't the person who's trying to set up a coup, but in the Mystery Knight Dunk and Egg book, the whole plan is let's get a bunch of lords together who are on my side, who will once the tourney's over will help me overthrow the kingdom. But Dunk and Egg find out what's going on before the tournament's over and spoil it. And what I'm proposing here is that Rhaegar was doing the same thing that John the Fiddler was doing. Let's hold a tournament as a pretext to actually get a bunch of people who are loyal to me in the same room. And a lot of this is backed up by the point of when Rhaegar rides off to the Trident, the last thing he tells Jaime, and I don't know the quote exactly, but Jaime basically says like, yo, something's just not good. Like your dad's crazy or like, we need to fix something. And Rhaegar says like, don't worry, things will be different when I come back from the war. I wanted to change them long ago, but there's no point in talking about roads not taken, is what Rhaegar says. Okay. So the theory is that this tournament,
he had a thought to change it, and Aerys
came, which foiled that thought. At the same time, he got hooked on Lyanna. A few months later, Lyanna goes missing, which starts the war. And then a few months after that, he tells Jaime this. Hey, I had this thought already, but it didn't work out last time. It'll work out next time.
That's interesting for sure.
So again, to the point of why would Rhaegar give Lyanna these flowers? And again, I think this is actually a really important point on why I think Lyanna is actually the Knight of the Laughing Tree. So I'll put my stance here. I think Lyanna is the Knight of the Laughing Tree, and I think the biggest evidence of that it's Lyanna and not Ned is the fact that Rhaegar gives her the crown.
Agreed.
Why else would he give her the crown? He knew... He's not an idiot. He knew what would happen. He knew this would cause an uproar. He knew Robert would get pissed. He knew his wife might probably get pissed.
Again, like, I agree with you. And let's just take it, like, even steps further. He finds her shield, right?
He finds her. Most fans think he actually finds her.
I agree. It's not just he found her shield. He found her... They and it wasn't a find. It was a meet.
Yes.
Come meet me here.
Yes, cute meet.
Meet me here. I can give you my shield.
What's that called? Isn't that called a cute meet when you like drop your pencil and then somebody picks it up and then you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I dropped that. Thank you. I think it's called a cute meet.
I don't know.
That's what Lyanna did. She dropped her shield. Oh, sorry, thank you, Rhaegar. Cute meet.
Oh, I don't know if that's really what she did, but
I think is there an Office episode where there's an episode of TV where somebody's talking about that. There's a girl teaching another girl how to do the cute meet.
It sounds like a Kelly Kapoor thing to Pam.
Yeah, that might be it.
But yeah, I'm 100% agree with you. Like, but I mean, Lyanna just beating the shit out of 3 knights is crazy.
It is crazy, and they're champion knights. They're not just nobodies. It's not like. Again, when you hear like I've looked up theories about this, like in preparation for the podcast, and the theories are like, oh, and then the Knight of the Laughing Tree shows up and calls out these 3 knights. No, these knights are champions at the biggest tournament in history of tournaments. Like these guys aren't slapdicks; they're good. Also, the interesting thing that I really want to dig into, but we definitely don't have time today, is who are these 3 guys? Like the Frey, we should know. We know a lot of Freys, and this is like living memory shit. We should be able to figure out who the Frey is.
Old Walder. Or
we're not going to dig into it now. We should be able to figure it out.
I mean, to that point, we should be probably even know the squire.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of Freys. I don't know if we know all their squires, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really dived into this spoiler section. Like, I have even notes that, like, littler notes, like even Mira saying that's a sadder story. Like, there's more to the story.
Well,
there's more to this story about Lyanna, obviously, and like the brand doesn't pick up that it's Lyanna and that it's actually a true story.
Well, again, Mira might be one of the people. Like, we assume Hallen is one of the very few people that knows the truth about Jon, right? Again, we don't know the truth about Jon.
Do you think Bran or Mira and jraijin know about Jon?
Well, that's where I'm getting, right? Like, even me and you don't know the truth about Jon. George honestly might not even know the truth about Jon, right? There's a chance that he has it's still undecided. I hope not, but there's a chance. But the one person who does know about Jon is Hallen Reed, right? Even if George doesn't, Hallen already does, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think no matter what, in George's mind, Hallen knows the truth. The question that I think is really interesting that you brought up is, would he have told Mira and jraijin? Clearly, he told them a lot.
Or
and the
right,
fact
so
that,
like,
hold on, and the fact that Mira says twice, she says that's a story for another time, makes me think that she knows.
She doesn't say that. She doesn't say that though. She said, "But that's a sadder
different story." Earlier, when the Crannogman, probably Hallen, gets to the island, the Isle of Faces, Bran asks, "Oh, what about the Green Men? What happened there?" She says, "That's a story." I think she says a story for a different time. You're right that my quote might not be exact, but she said something like that. Like, that's a different story. That's a story for a different time. And then she keeps going. You asked about knights, right? And she keeps going. I just think it's interesting that it seems like both those quotes, Mira knew more, but that wasn't for now, right? Both she knew more about the Green Men, like Hallen, and how would she know more if her dad didn't tell her? So she knew more about the Green Men part of things, and to me, she knew more, like when she says, "Oh, that's a different story," even if she doesn't say like for a different time, that still to me implies that she knows that story, right? Which means her dad told her maybe not exactly everything, but at least a little bit more about what happened after the Crown of Roses got passed. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like that, you don't think so? That implies I know a little more too?
Yeah, so I agree with you to the point of thinking, but that's a sadder story, meaning that she's almost of the, like, her thought is that Lyanna gets taken and captured and raped by this person who donned her the Queen of Beauty, Love and Beauty. Not that they fell in love and had this married and child. Like,
well, so if she thinks the first, that means that she thinks the popular opinion, and if she thinks the second, that means that she thinks the fan opinion. But what I'm saying is, assume that Hallen knows the truth and told Mira the truth.
I mean, to your point, like, we don't
know that though. You're right.
We don't know the truth.
Maybe he didn't tell her anything else after this, and you're right that when she says that's a different story, it's stories that she's heard from people other than Hallen. My point is, though, I think it's interesting that, and probably probable, that the story that we've heard and the story that we assume, neither are right, and it's somewhere in the middle, right? We assume she was raped and there was no love there and it was horrible. Or that's the story we've heard. She was raped, there was no love there, it was horrible. We assume that they're totally in love, Rhaegar and Lyanna, happily ever after story, best couple ever, fairy tale, and I bet you it's in the middle. I bet you it wasn't perfect.
I mean, I think, like, her crying again, like, points to them, like, having, it's obviously there's something there. Like, maybe he sang that great, but probably not. Like, you don't get that emotional for just like a good song.
Also, to my boy Robert, I love him, and there's a lot of similarities there.
He's just out drinking around.
He's literally having drinking games, like the Game of Thrones word for drinking game. Wine cup war.
Couple wars or something like that.
Wine cup war.
Cup of wars.
Wine cup war is just a badass Game of Thrones word. But there's a point where when Ned's talking to Robert in Game of Thrones, and he says, "Robert, you didn't know Lyanna. Like, she wasn't your type."
Yeah.
This is it. Like, this is us seeing it. Like, I love my boy Lyanna, and Robert's a dickhead.
Boy Rob.
I love my boy Rob, but and he's not for everybody.
Rob is, well, and it's just to the point too. Like, you say you love Lyanna, but you're not the one. You're not dancing with her. Like, you're drinking.
You're drinking with your boys.
You're drinking.
Yeah, you're doing what you want. Exactly. He's very self-centered. Yeah. So I just think that some of that's interesting too. But yeah, we're going super long. Do you have anything else?
Just really quick. I don't know if you have anything. Bran wants to travel to the Isle of the Faces to fix his legs.
It's one of those things where I wish I would have looked this up before the podcast. I think George. There's places where people have asked George, "Are we going to go there?" It's like Ashai. He looked at, "Are we going to go to Ashai?" And early on, he said yes. Recently, he has said no, which means he's changed plans.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things that I don't think I've actually maybe I've told you recently that, but I'm gonna even tell Kyle before we get to the next book. George planned for a 5-year time gap between Storm and Feast.
But we already have those books.
No, he wanted the characters to 5 years to pass in Westeros
to span 5 years.
The reason that
it doesn't.
You know what? Remember Darkstar? He's one of the characters in the Dorne story. He's one of the ones that is thought to slice.
Yeah. Yes.
Edric Dane, the person that Arya meets in the Brotherhood Without Banners, that was supposed to be him 5 years later. But George decided he wanted Arya to be with the Faceless Men and just learning for 5 years. He wanted Bran to be with the Three-Eyed Raven and just learning for 5 years. Right? It doesn't really make sense how Arya is going to go from like a girl to an assassin in like 6 months. And Bran's going to go from like a kid to like a wizard warg master in like 6 months. So he wanted there to be a 5-year, but he couldn't make it work with everybody. So he made new characters and stuff. And one of the examples is he has said that Darkstar he created because Edric Dane, when he created Edric Dane, he created him with the intention of there was going to be a 5-year time gap, and in 5 years he'll do the Darkstar role.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even remember Edric Dane. I don't even know what.
He's the guy who's with Arya in the Brotherhood Without Banners who tells her about Ned. We'll get him in a chapter.
We haven't met him yet.
No, when she gets to Barrack, he'll be there, and she's like, "Oh yeah, my family loved Ned," and all this kind of stuff. Like
Interesting.
But again, he was. I just think it's interesting to keep in mind that there was supposed to be a 5-year time gap.
Yeah.
Even for Bran here. So like a lot of this.
Yeah, maybe Bran travels there in his training type of thing. That's his like Luke Skywalker training site.
Yeah, for Isle of Faces. Like I hope he goes there. And like I said, I'm not sure if this is one of the places that he cut out, but Ashai got cut out because of the 5-year time gap.
Yeah.
So I think he said we're gonna see Ashai. I think he said we're gonna see more north than we've ever been before. I'm pretty sure that's still true.
Night King.
Which I don't know what that's crazy.
We're seeing the Night King castle.
I think he actually might have said we're gonna still see Ashai, but not physically, which means it's probably warg or dream style.
Or Euron story times.
But yeah, correct me in the comments. I'm not actually sure for Isle of Faces. I'm pretty sure Isle of Faces was on the list for we will definitely see, but I'm not sure if those was one of the ones that got cut out with the whole 5-year time gap. So
all right,
let me know. But yeah, definitely a long one. Maybe our longest ever. Because the non-spoiler was like
it's the longest spoiler section, has to be. I think it was worth the convo for sure.
If you made it this long, definitely give us a like.
If you made it this far, you like us, because me and Nelson really are just having a conversation and drinking right now. So welcome to our fan club.
Drink a little too much. Yeah. So give us a like, give us a subscribe. If you're on YouTube, go over to Spotify, give us a like there, and then go over to iTunes and give us a review, and then come back to YouTube, make a new account, and give us another like. Then we'll see you guys next week for Davos 3. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.